And welcome back, everyone, to Q&A! Cheers, everyone. And as always, I have an adult beverage on me. Normally, I'm just drinking like a straight bourbon or scotch, but I have a home bar, and I like to make cocktails, so I decided to try something new. This is called an Eclipse. It's 12 fresh raspberries, about 2 ounces of bourbon, 1 ounce of Chambord, which is a raspberry liqueur that comes in a holy hand grenade, about half an ounce of lime juice, and 2 ounces of cranberry juice. Muddle the raspberries, put it over, shake it with ice, strain it, make sure to strain it like through like a tea strainer or something to get the seeds and pulp out. And over ice, and let me tell you, on a hot day, oh my God, this is wonderful. This is so refreshing. Now, no one saw this, but this is actually my second time doing the Q&A. I had intended, like I've been doing a lot of videos, I've been pre-recording a lot of my stuff, and the Q&A was no exception. However, I quickly realized among all my videos, the Q&A is the one I probably can't pre-record because yesterday and earlier today, people still dropped questions in the Q&A like they're allowed to do. So I decided to just redo the Q&A. I think actually this will help shorten down my hour and 40-minute Q&A I did last time, because I went longer than I want to. I always want to try to keep it about an hour, but it never seems to work out, which is fine. It's not that big a deal. But because now I know the questions ahead of time, say for like a couple of the other ones, now I know the questions ahead of time, I can kind of breeze through a couple of them. So let's just start out from Ed Padilla. We have, what if Frieza raised Charlie from Has-Been Hotel / Hell of a Boss? Okay, so Ed Padilla, thank you for the suggestion. But as you clearly heard, if you were watching my Q&A announcement video, this video, I said for straight out that I'm not actually taking requests. I'll write them down, but I'm not actually doing requests in this video for what ifs. I'm just not. Also, you and a couple other people one or other person at least in the comments below have kind of been doing this, but but you're fairly new, so it's fine. Repeatedly asking for a specific what if or who will win or any sort of video over and over and over again is not going to make it happen any faster. I've said it before, but I'll say it again. I always have to kind of reiterate this point. I have a list, and it goes by name and all the suggestions that person's given, and I just go through the list. It's the fairest way to go about it. Apart from the fact that I don't know how to do a Patreon at this point, I just don't have the technology to do it, I actually wouldn't be doing like requests by Patreon unless I said once a month, because I don't know how long Who Would Win goes. I probably wouldn't like be selling what if suggestions and putting them top priority, because at that point then only the people who can pay to do that would do it then, and I would never get to other people. So I don't think I would ever do that, but no, trust me, dude, it's on the list, don't worry. All right, from Insane Makayoshin 104. What video are you most looking forward to making per type? Basically, every one of the videos that I do. What if, who would win, Pokemon, etc. Yes, I want to answer for each one of your major video types. Okay. So when I first did this, I didn't have a really confirmed answer. And I can honestly say I still don't have a very strong answer for, say, like the Pokemon or the Quirk, which, by the way, once this September comes through, I'm going to be putting the Quirk stuff and the Digimon stuff on a bit of a hiatus. I'll probably come back to it like maybe at the first of the year or something. I think I just need a break from it to go through a lot of the other videos I have that I'm just more, I put more attention to, and I have just better lore basis for, like the Zanpakuto and the Lantern Corps. But that's not to say I might not throw a different like video suggestion that someone brings up later on in this brought up. But point being, if I were to say about like the Who Would Wins that I'm looking forward to, I have no specific Who Would Wins I'm looking forward to. There's characters I love to throw into Who Would Wins. I love throwing Bleach characters into Who Would Wins. I love throwing the Godzilla, like Kaiju characters into Who Would Wins. So those are characters I would say I guess I look forward to. However, in terms of what ifs, there's plenty on the table. Like crossover what ifs, particularly like Bleach. I want to do more Bleach stuff when it comes to from the what ifs. And crossovers like Naruto Bleach, My Hero Bleach, hell, even One Piece Bleach. But conversely, the My Hero what ifs, now that we're starting those up, I'm looking forward to that. But unfortunately, in terms of specifics, couldn't give you specifics. Sorry about that. 2, though, which series do you want to cover more? Like I said, My Hero is probably going to be a big one. I want to get back into Black Clover. I started reading Black Clover. I was really enjoying it, and I just kind of fell off it, so I wouldn't mind getting back into Black Clover. Are you excited for Black Myth Wukong? Now, had I not seen some gameplay for this on like Facebook, I wouldn't know what the hell you're talking about. But it's a video game based on, the Legend of Sun Wukong, the Monkey King. Honestly, no, because I just don't play a lot of video games. I play mostly like my Switch, and if I do occasionally play my console, I have an old Xbox 360, and if I can ever freaking get my PS2 back from my sister, I would love to get back to playing like Dark Cloud and Dark Cloud 2. Those two games, Dark Cloud and Dark Cloud 2, are my comfort food games. They're literally just games I can just sit there and just mindlessly just do for God knows how amount of time. I'm actually someone who really enjoys. Oh, there's a bee. The catch-22 of doing this outside is nature. It's all over me. Get it off. No, I'm someone who actually doesn't mind doing the grind to get to stronger forms, stronger levels, evolve creatures, all that. Like with Digimon, I have no problem doing a Digimon game where I grind to get to a next level. I got no problem with that. Dark Cloud was one of that too. I had no problem grinding to get to a higher level of weapons. I just like the environment. The music is so soothing. It's just comforting game. And then video idea: Rune King Thor versus Chaos Warrior Hercules. I'll have to remember to actually write that down, but I will put it down on the list. I don't know enough about Chaos Warrior Hercules to give you a firm answer. All right, Noble Chief, 1 in 10, bring it. What's your X-Men team roster? Okay, this actually has changed a little bit since I answered this on Monday, but I still throw Wolverine in there. He's the perfect kind of melee, close-range fighter. Hard to put down unless you got an ability that can actually put him down. I would throw Gambit in. His ability, the charging inanimate, non-living objects with kinetic energy and making them explode, is extremely dangerous. So I throw Gambit in there. But I do still throw, like, telepaths of some kind in there as well to be your more long-range fighters. So either a Jean Grey at her max minus Phoenix, or maybe like a Psylocke, honestly. Psylocke would be pretty cool because she's kind of got a mix of both. I'd throw Storm in there. And by the way, when we say roster, I'm going like say how the original was, a core 5. So Storm, she's pretty much kind of like the whole package, admittedly, and she's a perfect leader for this. And then for like the true muscle of the group, I throw a mutant called Titan in there, if I remember correctly. That's his name. He's a mutant who literally, his mutation just spontaneously grows his muscles, and he can't control it. He literally has vibranium tattoos that prevent his muscles from basically just going off the ring and exploding and just going too large. Again, I might be getting that name wrong for the mutant, but if you're a comic reader, you know what I'm talking about. And he's so powerful that eventually even the vibranium tattoos he has on there to contain his power will break. So yeah, I'd probably go that guy for the muscle. Number 2, if Mojo from Marvel got/kidnapped the Seven, I think I see Mojo and Homelander being in cahoots. Your thoughts? The problem is he has to actually kidnap Homelander too. And Mojo's one of those very weird characters where his power level is kind of inconsistent. Like as we saw in the animated series, even Jubilee can beat him. Jubilee's powerful, but Homelander would kind of make mincemeat of Jubilee. Unless we were like to max out our powers to the max. That's not a bad idea. Throwing Homelander in the Marvelverse and seeing how well he gets along. Because throwing Homelander in any universe gets his ass clapped pretty hard and by when someone who's taking shit seriously comes into the field. Because there's no way Homelander beats someone like the Hulk. Homelander couldn't even beat Iron Man, Thor, none of that. He could beat Cap, but Cap still has a vibranium shield that could at least stop the heat vision. But if we're talking about physicality, he could beat Cap. He'd have to get... I could see them being... not in cahoots, but I could see them ultimately working together, because one of the things Homelander loves is the attention and the love of the people. So, I could definitely see it happening. But that's not to say it's a guarantee. Homelander also could just be pissed off he got sent into this weird video game bullshit. So... And sorry if I'm lagging a little bit. I'm not... Sometimes my computer lags, sometimes it doesn't. Maybe if I turn the volume down just a little bit. Maybe that will do it. Oh, yeah, that seemed to help a little bit. So, yeah, I would probably say it probably wouldn't work out, but there's a chance it would. Are you a fan of sub or dub watching for anime? I am both. I do not... See, I get it's all for, jokes and laughs, especially when you see memes and stuff like that, but... Really, if you're someone who's getting pissed off at someone for watching an anime in a different language or a different style, you're not a real fan. You're just one of those idiots who loves what you love and can't accept the fact that someone likes something in a different way. Now that being said, if you were to push, if you were to bend my arm on what I probably watch more of, I do probably watch more dub, just because as an American speaking individual who doesn't actually understand Japanese, and hearing, watching, and reading can be difficult. Like that is the one thing I think a lot of people who like sub could probably agree with, at least on some level, is that it does take an extra level of focus to be able to listen, to read, and to watch the image all at once, because your eyes have to dart down to what they're saying. So it takes a balancing act, but I do prefer, I say I watch dub more. But for example, with something like the Bleach 1000-Year Blood War arc, I'm watching the sub when it comes out, like when it drops on Hulu, I watch the sub. So I'm like, no, because honestly, with like the dub for like Bleach, they changed a lot of the voice actors around the fake Karakurutan arc. Like the voice of Kenpachi, who was also the voice of Jiraiya, was no longer the voice, and I was really disappointed by that. So yeah, so I've gone a little bit more favorable with the sub. But if you're asking me what I watch more of, it's definitely the dub. What's your thoughts on crossovers? It depends on if you're talking about in movies and what ifs. If you're talking about what ifs, I have no problem with it. I need to find the balance of the worlds for the crossover. And if you're talking about in like movies, there are definitely good crossovers. Freddy vs. Jason, a fun movie. Alien vs. Predator, at least the first one, despite being PG-13, fun movie. And we're allegedly going to get another one from the guy who did, from Fede Alvarez, who did Alien Romulus, which is right now burning up the box office. So, and if it's a rated R, sign me to F up. So yeah. But yeah, I like crossovers fine. You gotta pick the right properties. That's what it is. 5. It's kind of a what if, but do you think Guts from Berserker would be a good Ghost Rider? Yes, because this is a guy who, well, okay. First off, would he make a deal with the devil to become the Ghost Rider? No, because he doesn't trust fucking demons. He kills those guys. But if he were to be Ghost Rider, absolutely he would. I don't know what his mount would be, like his steed, but I definitely think he could be a good Ghost Rider. And I mean, Dragon Slayer can already kill ghosts as it is, so you add Ghost Rider's power in there, and you make a hell of a weapon. All right. 6. Do you think old planet? Oh, okay. Do you think old planet Namek's 3 suns would have affected Kryptonian like the yellow sun? It all depends if they're yellow suns, because it's not about the amount of suns. It's about what type of solar radiation is coming from the sun, right? So I don't recall us ever actually seeing the suns of Namek, because it's like pretty much perpetual day on that planet due to the 3 suns. So I don't believe we've ever seen the 3 suns. I don't remember seeing them. If they're a yellow sun, then yes. If anything, him being on Namek would boost him even faster and quicker, because it's perpetually day there. But if they're like if they're actually red suns, then he's screwed. If he were like to fall on that planet, because he would never get his powers. And if they were blue suns, then it would actually amp him even more. But I don't recall ever seeing the sun itself. So I tried to look up images when this question was brought up, and I couldn't find the sun in an image for an Namek anyway. And you can't really say, well, because of the sky is green. No, that's not because of the sunlight. That's because of the atmosphere. This not synthesizing. It's like a prism. It's basically refracting the light through our atmosphere, and that's why our sky is blue, because it's the only color on the spectrum that gets through. 7. If Mongul from DC landed in Marvel, do you think he would take? Who do you think he would take or kidnap to Warworld? Assuming he could get away with doing it, because Marvel's got plenty of heavy hitters that could take him down. He definitely kidnapped Bruce Banner when he was Bruce Banner, not Hulk. Hulk would be too much for him to take on and do that with. It would have to be individuals he knew could not fight him back. So like Tony Stark, for example. Tony Stark wouldn't make any sense, because without his armor, there's no sense in putting him on Battleworld. He would have to be taking individuals like the Hulk, like Luke Cage, Wolverine. He'd be having taken a lot of the more physically inclined individuals, because if he tried to take Sentry, he's getting his ass clapped. Even though Mongul can go toe-to-toe with Superman, he's nowhere near as strong as Superman outright. And Sentry is arguably someone who could take on Superman. It's arguable, but he's like, I did a video long ago about them fighting each other, and this is before a lot more of the bullshit of Superman's like power scaling happened. So, so ultimately, yeah, Mongul would probably be taking a lot of heavy hitters, but I think what's going to ultimately happen is Battleworld would keep going on, kind of like how Hulk, when he came back from World War Hulk, or the planet Sakaar, and we'll kind of put them all in a gladiatorial style. That's kind of what would happen in reverse, but eventually he's going to try to take an opponent that is going to clap his ass, and then they'll go save everyone else. Number 8, are you a fan of Warhammer? Sadly, I'm really not. I'm not like against it or anything like that. Like I like it more in concept than I like Ninjago, to be honest. I've been on record saying I'm not a big Ninjago fan, so when I get so many Ninjago requests, I'm like, I wish I had more energy, or I wish I had more interest in this verse. But yeah. But Mark's the bigger Warhammer fan, so if Mark ever decides to actually be a part of the actual video part of the channel, Mark's doing a lot of background work on the channel, like actually trying to get us monetized again. So yeah. Then who's Marvel's Trinity? If we're talking about the movies, then it's no-brainers: Thor, Captain America, and Iron Man. Those are the big 3 first original films. They are the ones who all have their own trilogy. Now quadrilogy with Thor and Captain America coming out, and I believe it's February. That's when Captain America comes out. Captain America: Brave New World, which I'm looking forward to. And Iron Man, I'm sure we'll probably get another Iron Man movie in some capacity at some point. But if we're talking about the comics, in terms of like who audiences recognize from the comics, it's Spider-Man, I think Wolverine, and because it's not solely about what their it's not solely about what I'm trying to say here, their placement in the comics, like their power structure, like how important they are. It's about like pop culture, right? So and keep in mind too, if we were to throw all of Marvel movies in there, then I'd still probably be inclined to say, because the MCU is the biggest Marvel franchise we've ever had, but I would give honorable mentions to Spider-Man and Wolverine, definitely, because they were the headliners for a long time. And Spider-Man, I'd still put as one of Marvel's holy trinity. Wolverine, just because of his immense popularity, everyone recognizes him, everyone knows him. It's because it's kind of like Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman, right? Everyone can recognize that. That's basically it. If you go to the most third world country you can think of, or whatever level, like the most isolated individual, and they hold up a picture and they say, "Oh, that's Superman." Like even they can recognize Superman. That's what it comes down to. So most people can, and most like 90, it has to be like 95% of the population can recognize these people. So that's Spider-Man, that's Wolverine. And I would probably say I'd still probably actually go with Captain America. The movies, I think, did a lot to help with that. And then finally, Kingpin. Is Kingpin a Spider-Man villain or a Daredevil villain to me? Prior to the Daredevil series, I would have said a Spider-Man villain because of the animated series, but he is probably at this point more of a Kingpin villain. I mean, he's a Daredevil villain, but the correct answer is he's both. That's pretty much it. So yeah, that's thanks for the questions, Noble Chief, as always. Now, Chris Dash, you asked, out of curiosity, would you ever consider making a Nightwing meets Daredevil and Spider-Man? I literally went through when I saw all these the first time. I went, yes. I'm not going to be answering any more of these questions, dude, because you pretty much just asked the same question about different what-ifs. That's all it is. So the answer is yes. I wrote them down. Whenever I get to them, I'll get to them. But yeah, so unfortunately, I'll probably be skipping over the majority of your other questions because re-looking at them, they're all the same thing. Luke Zilla, how long can Mr. X, Resident Evil, survive in Left 4 Dead? Probably pretty long. He's pretty durable. Resident Evil, I think, as a zombie franchise, ranks higher on the power scaling. So I would probably say pretty long. I don't know for certain, though. I'm not a huge Resident Evil fan. Then I'm not really. The movies are whatever. The games I've never really played. I never played Left 4 Dead. But we're talking about like Left 4 Dead in terms of like. Are we talking about Left 4 Dead like the Cowboy franchise? Or no, I'm thinking Red Dead Redemption. That's what I'm thinking of. But no, it's probably still pretty far. Luke Zilla also had another question. I got another one here. Who would win? And I wrote this down, I'm pretty sure, but I'll double check it when I'm done with this entire video. Mr. X or Jason Voorhees, Resident Evil, specifically talking about the zombie version of Jason. So basically anything after, I want to say it's Friday the 13th, part 5, because 6 is where he's resurrected. And going into Freddy versus Jason. It would probably be Mr. X. He's more mobile. He's just physically stronger. He's got a couple other abilities like the tentacles that Jason doesn't have. Now, Jason is still very hard to kill straight outright, but decapitation generally works. Now, granted, it's temporary, as we learned in Jason X, because of the demon curse bullshit of Jason Voorhees, but yeah. still, I think that's definitely a win, or definitely a win on his side. Let's see here now. Diego Lorente. What's a smell that always reminds you of childhood? Fresh baked chocolate chip cookies. Almost every night, me and my mom, God rest her soul, I miss my mom for like every day. I mean, when you lose a loved one, it's hard. When you lose your parent, and especially probably way too early. She died like before she really was in her 50s. She was early 50s. So yeah, it's. I think she was actually, yeah. I remember the video I posted about when she passed. It was literally Christmas Day, where I mentioned that she had me at 27 and I lost her at 27, which means I could do the math. She was 54 when she died. She'd be in her 60s now. I look back and I'm like, I'm not trying to go on like a memory trip about my mom here, but this you asked the question, and it's because my mom made a lot like snacks almost every night for us. Wow, yeah, she'd be. It's almost what now? It's going on close to 8 years since she's passed. It'll be 8 years this year. And it's the cycle of it's the cycle of life. Life, we live our lives knowing that we will die, and there's some people who can't accept that. But it's not about how it's not about what happens at the death. It's about how you lived your life and how you'll be remembered. And if you made some positive impact on even just one person in this world, I think. Not only I say that sentence, like, hey, Hitler made positive impacts on the German people to some degree. He brought the economy back up. Yeah, but he also did a lot. But you know what I mean. If you're just a regular person and you don't think you're amounting to much in your life, and you are able to improve one person's life in even a minor capacity, you've done some good in this world. That's all that it brings down. And my mom did a lot of good in this world. But to answer your question, my mom would make us like chocolate chip cookies or brownies every night for a snack, and we'd sit and like watch a show or a movie or something like that, or almost every night. So that, to answer your question, yeah, definitely the smell of any baked good will do it for me. It takes me back to my childhood. I'm also a big of a sweets fiend. Like, I try not to eat too much crap. Look, let's be honest, we're only human. Like, hell, I'm drinking this. I haven't even had lunch yet, so I'm doing this on pretty much an empty stomach. So if I get a little, I should be fine. Even on an empty stomach, one drink isn't going to do anything to me. I've got a relatively good alcohol tolerance. But, yeah, I'm a bit of a sweets fiend. Also a soda junkie, which I guess technically goes through it, but I'm a bit of a pastry fiend. I love pastries. Like cinnamon rolls. Oh, cinnamon rolls are my jam. But chocolate chip cookies, like every Tuesday when I get out of cards, I have a place called Insomnia Cookies, which is like late night, open till 3 a.m. for the college kids. I live in a college town. Well, I don't live in a college town. I live in a college town adjacent. And I stop by and get me and my girlfriend some cookies. So, yeah, I'm a sweets fiend. I love sweets. But thanks for the question. Joshua Merriweather. I like Mayweather. I get it. What is your favorite Avenger and who is your favorite Avenger and why? You know what? If we're talking about the movies, because the movies and the comics are different, right now, people who have been deemed Avengers, Thor. Thor, I think, is a perfect blend of serious and comedy. Thor: Love and Thunder notwithstanding, they definitely went a little too heavy on the comedy of that movie. But when we look at like Ragnarok and like his scene in Infinity War, where he's talking about, I'm 1,500 years old, I've killed twice that many enemies. It's destiny that he's gonna follow me. And what if you're wrong? And he just kind of wipes the air. It's like, what more do I have to lose? Like that. Thor is like the perfect when Thor is done right. Like Thor: Love and Thunder, I like the movie, but they clearly went a little too hard on the wacky. Thor: Love and Thunder. Thor is my favorite movie Avenger. But if we're talking about comics, because there's been a lot of Avengers in comics, I'd go Doctor Strange, because Doctor Strange is one of my favorite characters. He's especially the way Benedict plays him. I love the way he plays him. But Doctor Strange, he's one of the most powerful guys when you really break it down. But he's also just very reserved a lot of the time. He's very charming. He's got a good head on his shoulders. He's arrogant, but you need a little arrogance for your heroes. All right. Thanks for the question. Ricardo Player One, who would win? Darth Vader with his Zanpakuto or Anakin? So this is a callback to the Zanpakuto videos I did for each one. I'll admit, I meant to go back and rewatch the videos so I remembered what Zanpakuto I gave them. But if I'm remembering correctly, I think I would go Vader's, because Anakin's is a little less aggressive in terms of its power output, and Vader's isn't. So I would probably go with Vader's, Not to say Anakin isn't stronger than Vader overall. I actually do think Anakin is. In fact, he definitely is, because Vader has lost a large chunk of his body, which hinders his ability to use the Force. He had to kind of relearn how to use a lot of his power. And he can never really use the Force lightning effectively because it would short out his circuitry. But yeah, Anakin had the potential to become insanely powerful. But thanks for the question. The master of gaming, asked the question. Actually, let me rephrase that. There is one other question Chris Dash asked that I will answer. And out of curiosity, would you ever use OC or original characters, or do you just use canon characters for your who would wins? The answer is no, I will not use original characters, because it depends. If you're just creating something, this is why I don't like using the Sugverse stuff. Because original characters, people will just make their characters as OP as possible. And I've used Sugverse once or twice before. And like, it's ridiculous how overpowered that whole verse is. Fanmates that, like, something like Slender, like the creepypasta, like Slender Man or SCP is one thing, because there is rules that are bound by that they are bound by. And they are popular enough that people would be interested in watching a video on that. But other original characters, like just from a fanmade thing that's like a lot of people don't know about, I'm not going to do it, because I am still trying to get people to watch the videos. And if a lot of people don't even know what these characters are, then it's going to kind of hinder the ability to watch the video or be interested in the video. Now, again, something like a giant fan community like SCP or Creepypasta is one thing entirely, because a lot of people, like the mass of people, like lots of fans, know about these things. But other characters, no, I will not be doing that. And like something like Sugverse, I'm going to try not to do those as much as possible, just because, or if I do those, it's probably going to be in the one-shot videos, the speed round videos, because God almighty, if you actually look into Sugverse and see, it's Sugs, by the way, not Slugs, it's Sugs. It is completely bull how like messed up they made that power system. Regardless, thank you for the question, though, Chris. It was the only question you asked that wasn't actually a what-if suggestion. Which, again, just to reiterate, I know you're relatively new, Chris, and a lot of other people who kind of done this are relatively new. But the Q&A videos are not for giving suggestions. They're for asking any other questions. What ifs, who would win suggestions are one thing. I'll give a brief answer, but if I go into more in depth, that answer could change. But what ifs, I'm not going to do a whole what if in a Q&A. That's just not going to happen. So yeah, and again, if you give a suggestion, just know I've looked at it, I've seen it, and I can't answer every comment to confirm I've seen it. So yeah, keep that in mind. Anyway, the Master Gaming asks 3 questions. 1, do you think Moana 2, Mufasa, The Lion King, or Joker 2 will make $1 billion worldwide? They all have the potential. 2 of them were already $1 billion+ grossing films. Lion King right now, I believe, is the 9th highest grossing film of all time, and the highest grossing animated film. Inside Out 2 might overtake it in the next week or 2, though. We'll have to wait and see on that. Joker was the first R-rated film to make $1 billion. Obviously, Deadpool and Wolverine has long since eclipsed that. And Moana 2, while not $1 billion film, I believe it's like let me look that up. Moana box office. How much did it make? Moana. I am Moana. Yeah. Moana box office. I didn't even know there's a Moana themed cocktails. Cool. I just Googled Moana box office. There we go. So how much did it make? It made almost made $700 million. So it very much has the potential to make $1 billion. No doubt about it. Now, who do I think is the most likely at? Like, if I were to rank them from most likely to least likely, I think the least likely is going to actually be Joker. The R rating is still going to hurt. Like, no matter what you say, like, let me look at your first Joker. It made $1 billion. Look at Deadpool and Wolverine. It beat that, and it's still making money. Like, it's still actually making money. I wouldn't say hand and fist, but it's still making a good amount of money each week. But you have to understand, we're now in a different era. 1, it's a sequel. It's going to also depend on how good the film is. Let's be very clear. All these depend on how good the film is. It's going to be a sequel. It's going to be an R-rated film, so that's still going to hurt the audience. And I'm going to be honest. There's a lot of people, not a lot of people, but there's definitely an amount of people like me. Probably enough of an amount of people that could hurt the box office a little bit, that went to go see it, and we'll still go to see this one. But you're not going to get like the repeat views from me. I don't hate Joker. In fact, if anything, I will say I will go so far as to say I do like the Joker film. I don't love the Joker film because it's kind of an uncomfortable watch. There's just I'm watching it and I'm like I'm seeing everything on the screen. The acting, the directing, the shots, everything is fantastic. But something about this film just A isn't resonating with me, and B is actually kind of making me a little eh. So I'm not saying, like I said, they all have the potential, but I think that's actually the least likely one to make $1 billion. The Lion King is the second, I'll say, which obviously goes to my number one, Moana. But Lion King, Mufasa, one, it's a prequel. I don't know how many people care about the prequel. Two, I'll be honest, looking at the trailers, now granted, I've never seen the most recent Lion King, but I've seen like reviews for it. I'm like looking at this, like I actually feel like I'd be bored through this. Like with at least the Jungle Book, I had a human character there to interact with everything else. But I actually feel like this one would just bore me. Like I just looking at it and the clips I've seen, the reviews I've seen, I'm like, I don't know if I like this film all that much. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm actually not going to be seeing Mufasa. Unless it's requested, I'm not going to see Mufasa because A, I didn't see the last Lion King. B, it actually, comparing the two, the first Lion King looked better than this one does, like visually. This one, for some reason, looks more, like I can see the animation. I can see the CGI more in this one. And then also, I just don't care. Like, I'm not sure how many people are going to care about a prequel. Now, don't get me wrong, that's not always the case. We know, for example, with The Hobbits, people like those prequels. The Fantastic Beasts films, even though they still declined, still made a decent amount of money. But then you get Furiosa, which was a fantastic film that no one went to go see. Like, relatively speaking, no one went to go see it and it lost money. So, yeah, I don't know what... I don't know. We'll see, though. It is going to be Christmas, though, around Christmas time when that comes out, December. So it's going to have all of the holiday money to come in. So maybe it can do it. I mean, like I said, it's definitely could do it. I'm just thinking it's the second least likely, which leads us to Moana 2. Definitely think Moana 2 can make $1 billion. I think it can make $1 billion actually easy. Why? Well, the first one made $700 million. Another $300 million is a lot, but nowhere near impossible for a family-friendly film based off a beloved movie. Like talk to people who've seen the movie. You'd be very hard pressed to find someone who didn't outright dislike it. It's a beloved movie where moving ahead in the story, it's coming out during Thanksgiving time. Disney right now is on a roll, and that's not really a reason it's going to make money, but it's basically saying don't doubt Disney. That's what it's basically saying right now. And it's an animated film, meaning it's a 4-quadrant film. Pixar films are always 4-quadrant films, whereas Joker is not 4-quadrant. If you don't know what 4-quadrant means, it means, I believe, above the age of 27 and then below, and then male and female. Those are your 4-quadrant films. That's what 4-quadrant means. Male, female, above, below the certain age. That's what it means. Joker is not a 4-quadrant film. Mufasa Lion King more or less is, and Moana certainly is. So, because a lot of families, because once you're, again, coming out during Thanksgiving, around that time, leads into the holiday season with Christmas, which means it's also going to be ripe for that. In fact, it actually has that advantage over The Lion King, which comes out during December and only can take advantage of the Christmas season, whereas Thanksgiving-based releases can take advantage of the Thanksgiving Day releases or Thanksgiving weekend releases window and the holiday, because they're still going to be in theaters then. So they actually have has a much better chance of making money. So that's my thoughts on that. 2, do you think Reagan or God's Not Dead and Gods I Trust will be surprise hits? No, I do not. God's Not Dead is another Pureflix film. The whole God's Not Dead series is a Pureflix franchise. They have their audiences, but let me look this up right now. What is the highest grossing Pureflix film? Highest grossing Pureflix film. Okay, highest grossing Pureflix films. Let's find that out real quick. Let's see. Lifemark highest Pureflix making over 2 million in opening weekend. Well, that's opening weekend. Okay, box office performance of Pureflix Entertainment. Okay, let's find this out. Total gross. The original God's Not Dead made a total gross of $60+ million. Not 61, but I say 60+ because it's under 61. Which they account inflation. Don't never account inflation, by the way. Inflation, because because nothing matters at that point. So, well, I'm gonna make more money because the things like that was the amount of money that was what it was at the time. It doesn't matter because times change and you got to work with the times, because then you can't. No, yeah, you can still look at inflation and go like, well, with inflation this, but that's not what the numbers were at the time. You're now basically just creating something that doesn't exist. That's not the realistic number. We'll see. That's not the real number. That's just a hypothetical number. Hypotheticals are not reality. That's the thing. But yeah, God's Not Dead, and God's Not 2 made only 20. Here's the problem. Here's the problem with asking if God's Not Dead 3. God's Not Dead. Yeah, God's Not Dead. 3? In God We Trust. I believe that's it. Yeah. If it will be a surprise hit. The highest grossing is $60 million with the original God's Not Dead. And all these films are made on Chump Change, so that still made a lot of money. The second one is God's Not Dead 2 at $20 million. And everything else is under $20 million. The PureFlix crowd is a very niche, devoted crowd to these movies, but a very niche crowd. And like you have Unplanned, I don't even know what that is. I don't know what half of the is. The Case of Christ, For Christ, Do You Believe? I think I vaguely remember that one. Same kind of different as Me. Unbroken Path. Okay, I do remember that one, which was based actually on a real story, if I remember correctly. God's Not. Oh, there was actually no. This is the fourth one. Okay, yeah, no, it's not going to be surprising because the third movie made $5 million as opposed to the 20. Yeah, this will be lucky to even be in like the top 10 of PureFlix films. So yeah, and honestly, if you look at the release windows here, the original God's Not Dead, which is the first PureFlix film, I believe, came out in 2014. Then God's Not Dead 2. Then it's kind of just a steady decline. Now it goes back and forth, but yeah, I don't think the PureFlix audience is that big anymore. Now, Reagan, I think, will be a bigger hit than God's Not Dead because it is at least a biographical film. But it's one of those films where I think it's going to be glorifying Reagan to a certain degree, and I don't think anyone cares about that. Don't get me wrong. I can separate actor from their political beliefs or whatever. I like Dennis Quaid as a performer. I've always liked Dennis Quaid as a performer, actually. And I actually think he's doing a pretty good Reagan impression. But I'm not going to be seeing it. I don't know how many people will be. So, no, I don't think they'll be surprise hits. And last question you ask is, why do you have no interest in anyone but you? It ends with us. And what about love? Now, I had to look up What About Love. I'm like, what is this film? I'll tell you why I didn't have any interest, because I didn't even know it existed. As for Anyone But You, I don't ever recall saying I didn't have any interest in it. Maybe I did, but I probably misspoke. It's the fact that what happened with Anyone But You, and I had to remember if it was the movie I was thinking about. By the way, if you hear a noise in the background, it's the mail truck coming by. With Anyone But You, what happened simply was other films were coming out, and I just couldn't get around to seeing it. So it's not that I didn't have interest. And for everything I heard, it was actually a pretty fun movie. It was simply that I think it was coming out the same week either as Wonka or something else, and I had to go prioritize one over the other. Sometimes I can see 2 movies in a week, but other times I can't. And I had to go prioritize, I think, one over the other. Wonka, I think maybe it was. And then something else was coming out, and eventually it just got lost in the fray. As for It Ends with Us, though, the reason I'm not interested in that is simply because I'm not interested in that type of storytelling. Not storytelling, but that type of story in general. First off, stories based off books about, a suffering person dealing with their trauma and all that. It's not my type of film. It's just not my type of. I'm not saying these aren't good films. I'm not saying they don't have their audiences. Hell no, they don't have their audience, because I'm not saying that, because Ends With Us is killing it at the box office. Just why? If I think I did the math last week, right now it's made $100 million in profit. That's ridiculous. Like straight out ridiculous. So yeah, but overall, the reason I have no interest is simply due to the fact that I don't like watching films that have to deal with abuse. Like, I'm sitting through The Color Purple. Take the race relation stuff out of the equation, which was actually very minor in the film. As a white guy watching race relations, I will still do it. Not race relations, or like the racism that black people or Asian people or Hispanic people have to deal with. I will definitely watch it. But as a white guy, I obviously am uncomfortable by it, because I'm like, Jesus Christ, why do the people I look like have to be such fucking pricks? Like, why do I have to come from a legacy of assholes? Like that's like seriously. A friend of mine, I'm going off rails here a little bit, but a friend of mine once asked, like, "Yo, you don't want to feel any white guilt?" And I kind of joked, like, "Nope." But I was like, and I was mildly joking, but at the same time, like, I almost wanted to look at them in the face and go, and yes, they were black, and my friend was black. I went face like, of course I fucking feel white guilt. I try though not to go through my life feeling that because nothing I personally did had anything to do with how someone else is feeling. But the fact that possibly my ancestors had a part in enslaving and butchering and raping and killing, absolutely I fucking hate that. So yes, do I feel that white guilt? Sure, but do I walk around feeling that? I absolutely try not to, because while we need to remember it, the question simply is, how long do you... Because there's a separation issue here. And I know I'm going off on a tangent here, and I might sound like an idiot, but there's a separation here. Because how long are you going to do people who aren't white, going to blame people who are white for things that they personally didn't do? That's the difference. Now, don't get me wrong. Again, I need to be clear. I'm not saying white people need to forget their history. No, we need to remember that shit till the day human existence dies so we don't repeat that shit. Because that was ugly, and it's still ugly. When we see it today, it's still horrifying. Like, racism is not gone. Racism may never disappear. But, I mean, comparatively, it's gotten better, but it's still there. It's still horrible. I mean, we see what's happened with, like, police and, like, you know, black citizens in our country. It's like, it's horrible. But there comes a point in time where, like, and I think the perfect example is like when a, like, 3-year-old little white girl or white boy is just playing with a black girl. Are you going to tell them, don't forget your white guilt? Like, we did this. Like, who the fuck would do that? Because white guilt isn't inherited. It's taught. That's the difference. But it's something that still exists and kind of should still exist. I just hate the fact it exists. I really do. And so that's why, like, things like Color Purple, apart from that, I was having to watch a woman get abused repeatedly. I'm like, this is really uncomfortable. And it's kind of the same with It Ends With Us. Like, I have to watch a woman who's dealt with abusive relationships. Like, I don't find that entertainment. I find that kind of uncomfortable to watch. So, yeah, that's my answer to why It Ends With Us is not something I'd be going to watch. And you now have my basic idea on white guilt and why I hate it, but understand why it exists and has to exist. I just absolutely hate the fact that it exists. So I doubt I'm going to be making it to just the hour mark, so we'll just keep going at the pace we're going here. Power99 asks, I'm currently working on giving characters double fruit. I'm assuming you meant devil fruit videos. What's your advice? Well, seeing as I now am adding the devil fruit into the Naruto roster, which, by the way, the way I've now decided is, because I've got the devil fruit video for Naruto coming up after the next Naruto What If, or him being on Team Guy happens. I think I'm going to do the Zanpakuto and the Devil Fruit back-to-back, because I don't want to just rotate them out, because I still love doing the Zanpakuto What If, being a Bleach fan, but yeah, that's how I'm going to do that. As for how to do it, it all depends on what the style of video you're doing is. Are you doing a What If a character has a Devil Fruit, or are you doing a video where you're just trying to figure out what Devil Fruit suits someone? If you're doing a What If, I would just randomize it. Like, go through all the devil fruits, randomize it. Or if you've got a big enough viewing audience, like I do, I'm not bragging, I'm just saying I can do this because I got a big enough viewing audience, do a poll. Like, when I did the first devil fruit video, I basically did alphabetically, kept narrowing it down. I think what I did is I chose the type of fruit, Zoan, Logia, or Paramecium. Then I did alphabetical. Then I narrowed it down to the final, like, core ones. And then that's how that got chosen. I like to give people that option. I like to make people a part of the channel that way. If you don't have a big enough viewing audience to do a poll, though, I would just randomize it. Now, if you're trying to do just a video series where what devil fruit works for individuals, I would say this. You got to look at the character first. For example, hold on. Sorry, my girlfriend was calling, but as long as it's not urgent, I'll keep going. She tries calling me again, I might have to stop. If you're trying to do a video series where you're trying to pick the best devil fruit for a character, you got to look at the character. Perfect example of this, I'll use Wolverine. Something like the Gomu Gomu no Mi would be terrible for Wolverine because it completely negates him having adamantium. His adamantium basically makes him, along with his healing factor, makes him nigh indestructible. But giving him the Gomu Gomu no Mi would completely negate all of that. I think a Logia fruit would probably negate all of that also, although he could probably still make use of some Logia fruits, definitely. Like, even if he gets hit with, it's like what happened to Ace versus, I can't remember the name of the guy who had the Magna no Mi, but that wouldn't happen, that wouldn't kill Wolverine because of his healing factor. But I would actually go probably either a Paramecium or a Zone for Wolverine, because it would actually augment his abilities further. So that's what I mean by looking at the character, their abilities, all that, and just choosing the best fruit for that. So that's what I would do. JCR, thank you. JCR asked 1 of 5. I'm sure you probably have been asked this or talked about it, but actually I haven't been asked this, but I'm going to ask you anyway. How do you feel about the ending of My Hero? How would you have ended it? How would you have written it? Honestly, I'm going to be honest. I'm one of the few people who didn't really have a problem with My Hero's ending. I do feel like I wish it could have gone a bit more into the future, like seeing everyone in what they do. But I did ultimately like Deku's quirkless. He's a teacher. That makes sense, especially where it ended. And then he's still given his suit to be a hero, which I think is pretty cool. But I admit, like with Naruto or something like that, I think seeing some pairings probably would have been nice. Some ships. If I had written it any different, I probably would have at least. Sorry, my girlfriend's just sending me messages. It's nothing serious. I should get to it, but it's not. I checked the text. It's nothing serious. I probably would have at least seen that. Yes, Naruto and Ochako probably did end up together. It's almost confirmed they did. Everyone else though was a little up in the air. Like Kirishima and Mina probably ended up together. That was probably it. But Husu and the Hagari, is that her name? The invisible girl who can kind of turn it on and off. I think her ending up with I can't remember his name, but the guy with the tail, I think did make sense. I think it was kind of implied there. It was hit because they kind of ended up pairing individuals together who were gonna end up being together. Who Sue ends up with, I have no idea. And who Bakugo ends up with. Some of these individuals probably aren't dating anyone. Some of them aren't anyway, but some of them probably are. So yeah, that's probably the only thing I would change, is giving us some idea of the shippings. Granted, remember, My Hero was not a romantic anime. It was a shonen anime, which is primarily action. And romance came secondary at best. So there's that. Number 2, I know you like Godzilla movies, but you like any other kaiju movies like Gamera? If so, which kaiju is your favorite? Oh, Godzilla is my favorite. But I decided to say I don't like other kaiju movies. I've actually never really watched the Gamera film. I'd probably dig it. I like kaiju films. I do. It's just I've never gotten around to doing it. Pacific Rim's a lot of fun too. So yeah, I know. I definitely would. All right then. Godzilla is my favorite kaiju. Yeah, absolutely. Well, technically speaking, if we're talking about all the individual kaiju, Godzilla is among them. Destroyer is awesome. I am a big Biollante fan as well. So yeah. Let's see. And okay, do you know Yu-Gi-Oh has dual spirits? If you had a choice, which monster would you choose as your dual spirit? Well, yes, I do. Sorry, you know how they do. Yes. Who would I choose as my dual spirit? Oh god, there's so many monsters. It would depend on what deck I'm playing, really. If I were to think of a cool monster to be my dual spirit, I'll be honest, I'm not gonna lie. I like Winkaribo, like him being just a dual spirit. Hi Winkaribo. I have a Winkaribo in my little hodgepodge deck upstairs. I just don't play anymore in terms of in person, because the game. This is not a question anyone asked, but I'll say it right now. I play both Magic the Gathering and Yu-Gi-Oh. No one's asked me this, but I'm gonna bring it up. The question of who's got the more toxic players. Yu-Gi-Oh has the more toxic players, but it's not because of the player's fault. See, toxic players in Magic are just your standard toxic players. They're not toxic because the game is rigged or anything like that. They're just toxic because they're douchebags. Yu-Gi-Oh has, technically speaking, nearly every player in Yu-Gi-Oh is toxic on some level, but not because it's their fault. There are definitely toxic players in Yu-Gi-Oh too. Because the game evolved so fast and moved to be so broken, and you don't have a fucking ban list, not ban list, sorry. You don't have a goddamn, rotation. You play the entire game. There's just cards that are banned, and guess what? It doesn't frickin' matter. You know how many times I've gone on Master Duel and someone's done the goddamn Utopia Then like the something dragon mystic walk combo with like just burning you for that many lives into one turn. If you're literally have a game that you can just burn people with in one turn constantly, then you have a severe problem. When you have cards like, what was it, the Floor, I think his name is, that you can get, when you can get out your, not just one, but multiple boss monsters out on turn one, you have a problem with your game. You moved your game way too fast. You power creeped it way too hard, and you've now taken any. And now I'm not just talking about competitive. This can exist in anything, but you've taken your game too far too quickly, and you've basically broken your game. You've ruined whatever fun it is about the game that existed. Because you now get people who are just introduced to Yu-Gi-Oh! Or just came back. Like, I came back to Yu-Gi-Oh! For a little while and did, like, Master Duel. And, like, the game had just... What the fuck happened? What the fuck happened? Seriously. I'm censoring myself, but I'm trying to not curse as much. Seriously, what happened? So, yeah, in terms of spirits, Wing Kariba is a lot of fun. In terms of, like, the deck I have upstairs. Okay, in terms of the deck I have upstairs, Wing Kariba is a fun one. Yeah, I'd go Wing Kariba. It's stupid, but yeah. But yeah, that's kind of my problem with Yu-Gi-Oh! Over Magic more than anything else, is that you power creeped so hard, so fast, that you broke the game. And now you can't fix it. That's the problem. You know what? And I can tell you right now, because it really, what broke the game was the type of monsters that were coming out. It didn't break when Synchros came out. I think Synchros changed it up to be, I think, a unique angle. That's, by the way, when I roughly stopped playing. I don't think it's broke when XZs came out. You know when I think it broke? When it cracked and then broke? Pendulums into Lynx. Particularly Lynx. Because Lynx... most of the time you don't need specific monsters, and even if you do need specific monsters, you just play in a certain deck range. Like, it's just, and then you debate so many monsters like, oh, I negate your Regeki. Well, okay, Mirfire, I negate that too. Well, how do you negate that? It's like, oh, I negate this. Oh yeah, this. Hand trap. Like, it's just, the hand traps have always existed, but like now it's like ridiculous. It's just, the game is no longer fun. Even if you're just trying to play casually on Master Duels, it's not fun anymore. It's just not. So it sucks. It is, but it is what it is. There's nothing we can really do about it. And I doubt Konami will ever change it, unfortunately, at this point. All right, number 4. Who was your favorite Yu-Gi-Oh character? Who would you like to duel the most? My favorite character? Oh, if we're talking about the series, I only watched the first 3 series in depth. I've only seen bits and pieces of the other ones. But if we're talking about just standard duel monsters, it's Joey Wheeler, and Kaiba. Joey and Kaiba. Those are cool. Darts was a cool filler villain, though. I like Darts a lot. In terms of GX, that one's a little trickier. I didn't overly love anyone. I like Jaden as a protagonist. I do. And Zane's really cool. I actually didn't like Astro Phoenix that much, but I actually really like Sartorius as a bad guy. He's a cool bad guy. And I would say, Hassleberry. Hassleberry's kind of Rex Radford done right, a good dino duelist. So yeah, I go Rex, or Hassleberry on that too. After that, though, Yusei is a cool character, but after that, it's a little hit and miss. And number 5, during your last Q&A, you mentioned that you like Galar. I've asked you about champion and gym teams. So what would your Galar gym leader and champion team be? It would depend on what type I'm doing as a gym leader, obviously. If I were to choose, say, a type that's not in Galar or shown in Galar, I had to remember what types aren't shown in Galar. Steel. Let's go with Steel. And it would also depend on which gym leader I am. If we're to say I'm like, let's say I have 4 Mon on a team. That's fair. So I'm like a mid-stage gym leader. Scyther, and because I got the Isle Armor, I can include Scyther. Scizor, I would throw Scizor in there. I would probably go maybe like a Matang, just to be like, because I probably wouldn't be like a full strongest gym leader kind of thing. But Matang, I gotta also remember what's in Galar. Skarmory, if I remember correctly, Skarmory is in Galar. And if we're talking about any of the new guys, because this is Galar, Copper I thought was a solid steel type. In terms of a champion team, I'm going to still throw the Dragapult on there. I mean, let's be honest. Champion team, I'd just throw all the pseudos on there, but let's be realistic. Yeah, I'd still throw Dragapult in there because that thing is a monster. Dragapult would go on there. I'd want to make it at least half Galar and half everything else. I'd throw Toxtricity on there. I would, after that gets a little tricky after that. I would probably, having to remember all the Galar's Pokemon. Oh, I'd throw Grimmsnarl on there. Then to fill out the roster of like now I might have one more pseudo on there. I might have, say, Tyranitar on there, because Tyranitar's pretty beast. I do maybe Hone or what I do Age of Slash. Age of Slash is, I like Age of Slash, but we need a better Ghost Steel type, which we have that with Golden to go actually. Maybe I throw Corviknight on there. Yeah, Corviknight would be a good one. Flying Steel is actually a really good typing. And you know what? I'd probably switch to Skarmory now. I say that out with the Corviknight. And then, because I already have a dragon, I already got that, I need a fire type. Scorch. I throw Scorch in there as a sweeper. All right, and last but not least, here are some new versus suggestions. I'll just go over real quick, give you my brief thoughts. Gamora? Are you trying to say Gamera or Gamora? I'm not familiar with that. Showa era versus Ultraman versus Godzilla. Showa era, Godzilla probably. Ultraman Showa era versus Green Ranger, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. I'm guessing you mean with a Dragon Zord. Probably Ultraman actually. Rodan versus Gaios. Rodan. Daggerthra versus Mothra versus Batra. I don't know much about Daggerthra. I couldn't answer that one. And then Rex Raptor versus Tyranno Hasselberry. Hasselberry, because the game simply moved beyond Rex at that point. You had more advanced cards available. So that's my answer to that. All right, we're probably well over an hour at this point. Oh, we're still under an hour. I'm happy. All right, Clark Kent asked 1 of 11. I'll try to go through this as fast as possible. Which fictional president would you want to vote for? Bill Pullman from Independence Day. He's fought the aliens. I might go that. Or Kevin Kline from, I believe it's Dave, because he was actually a regular guy who looked like the president, got thrown in there. I might go that route. What American historical event would you like to see in person? Probably like, it's probably cliche to say, but probably Martin Luther King's "I Have a Dream" speech. Probably that. When doing Who Would Win, do you count crossovers in the discussion or just ignore it? Do you mean canon crossovers that have happened? If so, yeah, I do count those to a certain degree. I definitely do. But if you're talking about like if they exist in their own world, I mean, I have to set the verses somehow, but not necessarily. All right. Let's see here. Number 4. Who would win, Grand Admiral Thrawn or Captain Jean-Luc Picard? I, right now, go with Admiral Thrawn, because Picard is a Starfleet admiral, and he's got a good head on his shoulders for tactics. But Thrawn is just a different beast when it comes to tactical ingenuity. He's a man who can study the art of a culture and figure out how to beat them. That's not something Jean-Luc Picard has. And physically speaking, Thrawn's just also more capable. All right, how would you do What If Naruto or Ichigo were brothers? So it has to take place in one of their worlds. If I were to guess, if I were to give my immediate answer right now, I would probably make it more into Naruto's world, where Ichigo is actually Naruto's older brother and taking care of him through the loss of their parents. That's what I would probably do. Do you think Umbrella Corporation would stand a good challenge for VOD? I believe that's from Resident Evil, and since they made the T-virus, and in the show, there's a virus that should be able to kill most soups, yes, they could. In fact, they'd probably be able to completely outdo VOD. 7, how do you think the 7 would do against the Arkhamverse? They'd completely annihilate it, because you have Homelander, who's a low-grade Superman, yes, but he's still a low-grade Superman. No one in the Arkham villains roster could even come close to beating Homelander. Because your heaviest hitters, are Bane, Killer Croc, Poison Ivy, and Mr. Freeze at that point. And none of them have the abilities to take on Homelander. Save maybe Poison Ivy, and even then, I'm not certain she'd be able to control him forever. And because he's a psychopath and all that, maybe she could kind of go into his Oedipus complex a little bit, but yeah, I don't know if she could actually fully control him. Because of Homelander, and even if they did control him, Maeve would quickly kill him, or Starlight or whatever. So there's that. Let's see. If L was in Squid Game, how far do you think he'd make it? Probably all the way, if not near the end, because he's just that intelligent to figure this shit out. Number 9, who do you think is the better detective? Sherlock Holmes, L, Lieutenant Columbo, Jessica Fletcher, I believe that's from Murder, She Wrote, Adrian Monk, Dick Tracy, or Nancy Drew? I don't know much about Nancy Drew's mystery solving capabilities. I know she's probably actually like the least capable of these groups. Dick Tracy's a standard private dick. Adrian Monk is good at what he does, but he's got a lot of hangups that would be a problem for him. Jessica Fletcher is a writer. She's not actually a detective, but she's done a lot of murder mysteries to allow her to figure things out. It comes down to Columbo, L, and Sherlock Holmes for me. I think Columbo is probably actually the least likely. He doesn't have like the Sherlock Holmes sense, and L is like a savant in his own way. He's just a really good detective, Columbo. So it comes down to Sherlock Holmes and L. And ultimately, I would probably go with L because he can do things from his home. Like, for example, figuring out that Kira couldn't actually kill anyone without seeing them, without leaving or entering public at all. So, yeah, I'd probably go with L over Sherlock just because he can do things from his domicile that Sherlock Holmes simply couldn't. So, yeah, that'd be my thoughts on there. Wade Wilson asks 1 of 7. Let's do this, as he puts it. What death battle fights are you most interested in seeing happening? Grammar, guys, it's important. Anything that could throw another Bleach character and give them their due, because Bleach is one of the few. I've been a proponent that I love Bleach, and I do love Bleach. I like it more than Naruto, honestly. But it's one of the few universes that I really think Death Battle has really screwed the pooch on in terms of their scaling. So anything that would give me another Bleach character. I'm not familiar with Bleach, so if I got something wrong, and you know why. But anyway, could Naruto characters' abilities carry over to Saruti? I mean, that could someone like Itachi still have access to the Sharingan? In the same scenario, would the Sharingan hypothetically copy Aikido? So that's a good question. Things like Jutsu probably would not, although your knowledge of the Jutsu theoretically would. Although a lot of people actually don't necessarily have memories of their time when they were living. So that might not happen. But things like Sharingan, there are biological abilities. The Sharingan, Rinnegan, Byakugan, clan-based Kekkei Genkai. That, yes, actually, by all accounts, should carry over. Now, would the Sharingan still work in copying Kido? I don't think it would. But the Sharingan has many other abilities that would still be a boon in that world. The reason is that with Jutsu, you could still analyze the Kido, like the Ryatsu pattern. So maybe it would still work. It's tough to say. Even still, you would have a hard time because the way Kido versus Chakra works is a little different. You can run out of Ryatsu, but you don't need to do hand signs. You actually need to know incantations. So to use their full power. So I really don't know if it will really help or not. But yes, theoretically, things like the Sharingan, Byakugan should work even after they're dead because they're part of their biology. Number 3, who would win, John Kramer or Light Yagami? Probably. So if it all depends if Light still has the Death Note. If he's got the Shinigami eyes, then it's Light all the way. But if he doesn't have the Death Note on him, Light's still clever enough, I think, to work his way out of there. But it would be difficult. I would go with difficulty Light. Then who do you think would win, Johann, Liebert, or L? L, because I don't think Johann is, despite as monstrous as an individual Johann is, I don't think Light would be able to, or L, sorry. L would be really dissuaded. He's just about bringing this guy to justice, really. Who do you think is more evil, the Joker or the Green Goblin? The Green Goblin has a lot more access to his humanity than the Joker does. I'll go to the Joker. How much damage would Joker do if he had the Death Note? Surprisingly, not much. He'd probably still kill some people, but without knowing Batman's true identity, assuming he doesn't know it, he wouldn't kill. And he probably wouldn't kill Batman outright. He might kill like Joker or Alfred or Robin, but he'd have to first know them. And he'd probably get bored of it because it's like, I can kill anyone I want. Well, this is boring now. There's no fun in it anymore. So damage in theory a lot, but in practicality, I actually don't think a lot because he'd probably just ditch it after a while. And finally, who do you think has the more dangerous rogues gallery, Spider-Man or Batman? Psychologically, it's Batman. Like, those are psychotics on his, like, mentally messed up people, and some of them are monsters. But in terms of like the damage they can do, it's Spider-Man, because Spider-Man is physically stronger than Batman. That means his rogues gallery actually have to naturally be more dangerous than Batman to pose a threat to Spider-Man. Batman's biggest supernatural or superpowered threats are like Mr. Freeze, Killer Croc, Clayface, Poison Ivy. Those are your biggest hitters, and those are some heavy hitters. But you have Venom, Carnage, Electro, Doc Ock even. Kraven's even physically enhanced. You have the Shocker. You have Rhino. You have Mysterio. You have Morbius. You have so many on this, and those are just the ones I can name off the top of my head. You have so many guys on this, on this Rogues Gallery that would be problematic to say the least. So yeah, thanks for that. All right, King Xiao just says nice. Glad. Canon Lindgren asks, nice to see you again. Nice to be here. September and October of 2024 is coming soon. That means it'll be 25 years since Naruto debuted, and Shonen Jump is 70 years since Godzilla premiered in the theaters. Makes you feel old, doesn't it? Especially the Naruto one. And a commemoration of both series. Do you believe Kaiju King and the Shinobi World is currently in development? My curiosity on this what has gotten me the best of me. Condolences. It will happen at some point. It's not currently in development because that's just not how I work. So sorry about that, but it will happen at some point. All right, then. Lethal Injection asks 1 of 5. Because I listen to your videos on background as I play video games, I'm going to be selfish and ask more than one question. You and a lot of people. So you may be selfish, but you're within the norm. At this point in your YouTube career, how far do you see yourself realistically going? As long as I want to go. That's really all it comes down to. I'm only now, someone asked the question. So Diego Lorento, I believe you asked the question how old I am. I'm 34 now. I'm going to be 35 this year. And I can keep going for a long time. Now, granted, as I get older, it does become a little bit more weird that, this guy in his 40s is talking about Naruto or something like that. So I do acknowledge that. But talking about verses and all that, I still would love to do. I'll keep doing that forever. There might be things that I eventually maybe just take off the channel just because maybe they're not working as well as they used to. But honestly, as long as people keep watching, I'll keep doing it. That's really what it is. This is really just a hobby. Like I said, I don't make money on this at this time. Mark is currently looking into getting us remonetized, but I don't make money on this at all. So yeah, this is just a hobby and I love doing this. So I'll keep doing it as long as I feel I want to do it. And as long as you guys keep watching, that's the realistic answer. Number 2, name a superpower that you feel is underrated. Maybe not necessarily overpowered, but definitely underlooked. Automatic dodging. Basically like what Ultra Instinct does. Not on the level of Ultra Instinct, but basically the ability to just automatically recognize something and just dodge it without even thinking. It's an underrated ability because in like a street fighting sense, like in a ground level, street level fighting level, street fighting sense, it's an ability that, you're never getting hit unless someone's doing like an AoE attack or like a lot of like just throwing shit at causing a building to fall down on you or something like that, or a roof or whatever. It's a very capable ability. Number 3, what is your opinion on the advancement of AI technology? Do you see it as a good thing or for humanity or potential of hazard? I am someone who is on the neutral spectrum on that. AI is neither good nor bad. AI is simply another tool of technology that we have under our belt to use. What it ultimately comes down to is simply our responsibility with it. Now, look, things like Terminator, HAL from 2000 Space Odyssey, those are fun movies, but they do provide us a little bit of a cautionary tale about us not becoming too lazy with ourselves or us wanting to, just keep advancing without thinking of the consequences. But like in the film industry, look, AI has a place. It does. So long as you use it appropriately and don't take away from other people's jobs. But at the same time, like I just said, we need to be careful. AI, for example, could easily take away other people's work, things along those lines. They can start like making us even supplanting our needs and desires to work or be productive, and we get fat and lazy. I mean, there is a danger to AI. There is. But again, it all comes down to, it's a matter of the use of it. It's a matter of what we're using it for and the lengths we're willing to go for it. So yeah, do I think AI is bad? No. But do I think it's inherently good? No. It all depends on what we're going to do with it. I know that's a straw man answer, but there you go. Which big superhero teams do you think each of the core Z fighters best into personality wise? For the major ones, like the big 4, Gohan, Goku, Vegeta, and Piccolo, who are all there on the God tier levels, it would be the Justice League because you have Superman, Wonder Woman, who are God tier in their own right. For the lower tier, like your Krillins, your Yamchas, Tians, even the androids, it would actually probably be more the Marvel universe, because even though they're still immensely powerful individuals in that team, they're definitely going to be able to help more with their abilities there than say in the DC universe, because you're dealing with like world enders on a daily basis. Well, to be fair, dealing with that in Marvel too, but DC generally from a power ranking seems to rank a little higher, so I think they'd be a bit more useful there. And then 5, Blade or Hellboy? Who's cooler? Hellboy, I think I like more, but if you're talking about just like style, it's Blade, like the shade, the sword, the blade, like he's Blade. It's only better than one blade. Only gonna be one blade. So yeah, I would go Blade for style at least. All right, Luke Morehouse. It's been a while since I've taken part in one of your Q&As. Sorry about that. I just wanted to say it's been awesome to see you grow in the channel. It's been interesting, even though I don't watch all your content. That's okay. You don't have to watch everything. You just watch the stuff you want to watch. Nothing wrong with it. Specifically, I assume you meant specifically, all your versus video about One Piece characters, because I know you don't know a lot about it, but a lot of the times you downplay the characters. Okay, so I've been talking with another viewer about downplaying Naruto recently. What's the best way to put it? That is true. I may downplay characters occasionally, and it's not my intent. That's just the way I'm viewing the character. But I think on the opposite side, anyone who's a fan of their series needs to also be careful not to upplay or overplay their characters, because you have to be honest about where your characters rank in terms of power scaling. And if you can't, and you're watching things through rose-colored glasses here, or rose-tinted glasses, well, then that's going to be problematic a little bit. But I know what you're saying, and you're not wrong. On certain characters, I certainly downplayed them because I either don't have enough knowledge or I maybe don't know the verse as well as I thought I did. But you're not wrong. But we need to be careful on how we say, oh, you're downplaying. Are you sure you're not overplaying? Like, I'm just saying that. But number 1, how come you never got into One Piece? It's an amazing, great series. You should at least give it a try. I have given it a try. You'd think that One Piece would like Devil Fruits, hockey, pirates, all this. It would be more up my alley, but it really isn't. One of it is it's still going. It's still going. It is so long and so drawn out. So that's one thing. I think that's part of it. It's like starting it is just hard too. But another problem is, I'm going to be honest, I don't like the art style that much. The art style kind of got better as the series went on, at least when the anime came around, or with the anime, but I'm not a fan of the art style, to be honest. It's too round and rubbery. It's just really, it's not my thing, really. Again, I don't hate it, but among the big 3, Bleach, Naruto, and One Piece, it's the one I like the least. So that would probably be it. Number 2, what types of what else do you like to do? I assume you meant what ifs, because there's no what else that I do. Guys, again, grammar. Just proofread before you you edit or something, or you post something. I would say if you're talking about the type of what ifs I like to do, crossovers are fun, giving characters powers and seeing how they roll in that universe, throwing a character into a universe, that's kind of fun. Something like that. What's your favorite animated cartoon series from when you were a kid? It was either Batman the Animated Series or Animaniacs. I own both of those. I loved both of those. Absolutely. What type of horror games do you like to play? None. I don't play horror games. And it's not because I don't like horror games. It's just I actually don't play a lot of games to begin with. What is an anime trope you don't like? Tsunderes. I hate the whole, oh, you're such a loser. Come on, you idiot. And it's like, you realize, oh, I love him so much. And Yanderes, which is like the shy version of that, I think. I'm a little bit more okay with that, but the trope of the girl or guy, it goes both ways, just belittling the main character, even though I secretly love them, or even sabotaging their like chances of happiness because they want to be with them. I hate that trope. And luckily, there are definitely animes and mangas that subvert that trope, and I'm grateful to them. But yeah, I hate that trope. And then 6, what Yu-Gi-Oh deck do you play? I don't play any specific deck. When I did play, it was like a mix of stuff that just worked. So there's that. And that's all my questions. I'm sorry if I sounded mean or jaded at the beginning of the One Piece. I just constantly see them downplaying the character. It's fine, man. We all have our characters. I'm like that with Bleach. Like I said, talking about the Death Battle episodes with both Ichigo and Aizen. That one, I feel they severely downplayed them, or they just don't understand the cosmology of that world. So I'm that way with Bleach, but I'm also understanding that Bleach is not the top tier verse in all of anime. Like Dragon Ball Z's verse is much larger in scope than Bleach's. I understand that, respect that completely. But it is, I think, a larger cosmology than, say, like the Naruto verse, which I know someone might get on my case for that, but that's fine. Regardless, I understand where you're coming from with that. Sheridan Road asks one of technically 3, but it's like 2A, whatever. Anyway, how would you handle Shippuden in a what if? Where Naruto gets a massive power up during the time skip, would you have him? Would you run through the canon events with ease, or have the antagonist react or adapt? It all depends on what the power up is. If he has, and it all depends if the Akatsuki know about it, right? For example, doing the Naruto copying Kekkei Genkai video, the Akatsuki are now going to know he can copy Kekkei Genkai, which means they now have info on there, and they're going to have to adapt their tactics. But in a scenario, say, where Naruto gains something over the time skip, like a major power-up, then, like, say, when I'm doing a Zanpakuto video and he gains Bankai over the time skip, but when he only had Shikai, well, then they have no proper adaptations to that. So it all depends on what the power-up is. 2, which of the 3 Naruto continuities would you prefer to get a remastered anime? Part 1 getting a Part 2 without retcons. Part 2, Shippuden getting a Part 1. By the way, dude, I know you meant to do A, B, and C, not A, 2, and 3, but next time do A, B, and C. Shippuden getting a Part 1 with applied retcons, or manga continuity without filler and reduced plot holes. Okay, so it's not going to be number 2, Shippuden getting a Part 1 with applied retcons, because... Okay, look, I don't know what Kishimoto admitted was a retcon, like Itachi, for example, actually being good. I don't know if he actually admitted that was a retcon. Or Naruto ending up with Hinata being a retcon. I don't know 100%. I know there's been some discussions on that might have been a retcon, or if it was supposed to end there. I don't know 100% if that was a retcon either. But the fact of the matter is, there's certain retcons that we may think are retcons, but aren't retcons. We just don't like the fact that it happened, and I think we have to adjust our expectations with that. Ultimately, I prefer the Naruto Hinata ship. Honestly, I don't like him with Sakura, to be honest. I like them as friends more than like lovers. Honestly, I do. That's not to say I won't do Naruto being paired with Sakura. That's not to say I won't do that. I'm just saying if you're asking me between 2, I prefer Hinata and Naruto. I do. Sakura is her personality doesn't gel for me, especially with Naruto. Now that being said, with Part 1 and Part 2 without retcons getting remastered, I really don't see the point. The only difference would be, say, the animation would be better. That's it. Now, that being said, manga continuity without filler and reduced plot holes, and you're talking about reducing, like getting rid of things that don't make sense, for example, like especially in like the war arc, there's a lot of things that kind of needed to be fixed up. Yes, that would be number 3 would be my option, definitely. So that'd be my answer there. Maniac Green. Would you do a Beyblade? What if, preferably metal or classic in the future? Not a suggestion, just asking. Yeah, no, probably at some point. Peak Edits. Do you prefer live action TV shows or anime or manga? Depends on what the story is. But if you're going to ask what I probably watch more of, it is probably live action. John Coleman, if you could have an Enterprise, which one would it be? If you're talking about like Star Trek, like the Starship Enterprise, I'd probably go with like the most modern one because it would be the most updated version of it, theoretically. So there's that. But if you're talking about like an enterprise business, I don't know. I would actually love to expand into like if I owned a business, not necessarily knowing, but owned an enterprise, like a technological enterprise that could make a dual disc reel, like a legitimate hologram, like we see in the Duel Monsters, and just innovate the entire Yu-Gi-Oh world. That'd be cool. Dennis Servin, heck yeah, been looking forward to next Q&A. Glad you're here. There's always so entertaining, interesting. Also, congrats on 12,400 subscribers. Thank you for that. Well deserved as always, man. Now it's just up from here. Hopefully, hopefully it's never down. As long as I keep making content, people will subscribe. So 1 of 8. To your questions. What My Hero What If series are you most excited in making? Super excited for the start. I've been waiting for some of the great My Hero What Ifs for years, and you're absolutely going to be great at it. Thank you for that. Honestly, a lot of the Deco having powers are going to be interesting because it does fundamentally change the story, him having a quirk of some kind. So that's going to be interesting. Have you ever played an instrument like guitar or piano? I have played, in no particular order, violin, piano, trombone, and the harmonica. And I can still play the harmonica all right. I'm out of practice on everything else, but I can play some instruments. What is your favorite evolution? Probably from a design standpoint, I actually like Leafeon the best from a design standpoint, but from a function standpoint, it's Umbreon. Who is your favorite Robin? Grayson, Tim, Jason, or Damien? Ironically, it's that order. Grayson, I think, is the best one. Nightwing is cool, and he was probably the best Robin. Tim is though a good follow-up. I liked him in the animated series. Jason is a fun, kind of broken Robin, and Damien's a little shit. So moving on. 5. Is there an outdoor game that you really like to play? Could a sport or something be a outdoor game? A game could be a sport, other outdoor games. Not really. I'm not an outdoor guy. I'm really not a big guy in terms of, like, I don't like camping that much. That's a question that got asked earlier too, or later on. Not a big camping guy or anything like that. So there's that. But I mean, in school, I did like kickball. So there was that. Not dodgeball. I do like dodgeball too, but kickball. Do you have, and my battery's getting low, but luckily I'm reaching the end of the list. Woohoo. Do you have a favorite band, artist, or song? Bands, I love Linkin Park, but Led Zeppelin's my favorite band. And so I like also like Chris, Chad. Yeah, I can't. I feel not Chris Cornell. Yeah, the lead singer of Linkin Park. It's sad that he died. It's sad that he passed. Song. One of my favorite songs is "Dancing in the Moonlight." There's a couple different versions of that song, but it's a good song. I like it. It's just got a nice vibe to it. Which female lead do you prefer, Alexis or Taya? Alexis. Taya's role is to just be worried all the time. It really is. Yugi, I'm sorry. Yugi. She doesn't duel at all, but she doesn't have to be duels. That's fine. But Alexis definitely has a lot more autonomy to her, and she's got a lot more bite as a character. So I like her more. So 8. This is just something I've been thinking about through the years, but are you worried that some of the suggestions you have in your books was made by people who aren't subscribed anymore? No, because I guarantee you they are. Because look, like I said, I take down all suggestions. It's up to people if they want to keep sticking around to see if their suggestions get met. Because more people subscribe, that means more suggestions get met, and it gets harder to get to them. But I literally have people who are some of the first subscribers I've ever had, and I have not seen them in years comment on the channel. So, but your suggestion is there, which means you contributed to the channel in some way. So no, I'm not worried about that. Once more, I have to thank you for a ton of your dedication to bring joy to people's hearts. You're absolutely brilliant, man. Well, thank you for that. I try. And I don't know if I'm brilliant, but, at least in the context of the medium I'm in, I appreciate the comment. And I always look forward to a new update from you. Well, I do videos almost daily. All right, then. So, let's see. Ask Ghazi. I got 2. In your opinion, why is most fiction so afraid to go full-scale cosmic level destruction? The only 2 series I know that do it are Azura's Wrath and Gurren Lagann. Even series known for their really strong characters and versus like DC, Marvel, Dragon Ball usually avoid visual destruction, except in very rare moments. Yeah, no, DC and Marvel certainly will do it. They do it more than I think than you've seen. The reason is simply this: the level of destruction. If other universe, like if Naruto for some reason did that level of destruction, it completely breaks the whole point of the universe. Absolutely. It all depends on the level you have your verse at. And then when you're going to that level of destruction, having people follow along what's freaking happening is a big thing. So I think it's the understanding of what's happening, the level of destruction, and the level of tier your verse is at already. And then number 2, Trump or Kamala. Don't worry, I won't judge unless you deny the 2020 results. That's the only condition that I'll judge. So this is one of the very rare times I will talk anything about politics on this channel. I don't talk, obviously, about politics on my channel because that's not what the channel's about. We're not here to be making enemies with each other. And let's be very clear. Whatever I'm about to say, this is my opinion. If you have your own opinion that differs, it's fine. I am a Kamala supporter in this case. Why? Now, I don't have to go into why, but brief explanation. Do I love Kamala or Biden? No. If you were to ask me if I would have supported them if Trump wasn't running, the answer might probably have been no, but I'm not a big Republican fan because most of the Republicans in the United States are not out for your best interests. They're out for their and their small community's best interests. And I said this to my dad yesterday, but I'll repeat it again. I'll take 4 more years of the status quo any day and then try to get change implemented over time over a guy who wants to get rid of our Constitution, who is a convicted felon, a convicted sexual assault sexual assaulter, rapist, a pretty much a cult leader, an idiot, a con man, a guy who bankrupted 3 casinos, something no one ever thought was possible, a guy who constantly lies, a guy who sees value in dictatorship and wants to be king on high, and who stacked the Supreme Court with yes men who did away, at least for right now, with the idea that the president is not king and gave presidents broad immunity. I will take 4 more years of the status quo over that any day of the frickin' week. Now, if you're a Trump supporter and you disagree, look, I disagree with your take as well, probably. Because I can tell you right now, even if you're a Trump supporter with some sanity to you, I'm not going to agree with your opinion. If you're a MAGA individual, I am shocked you're even watching my video and like my content. Because if you're MAGA, this is the only time I'm going to get mean. You're an idiot. You are a problem with this country. You want a guy that wants to be like Putin. The people who said, I'd rather have a dictatorship with Trump than a democracy with Kamala or Biden are not Americans. They are people who are stuck in their own backwards ass belief system and don't respect your belief system. That's the whole idea of America. Freedom of and from religion, freedom of speech, freedom to or to not vote. You don't have to vote. That is your right. Freedom is your right as an American. And there's these group of Americans that don't believe in that. And that is dangerous, and that needs to be squashed. So yes, I'd go Kamala. Okay, and oh god, do I have enough time to get through the rest of these? We're getting close. I'm gonna have to speed blitz through a bunch of these though. All right, Sarjura Storm Blades, 1 of 10. Let's be quick about this. Now that My Hero wrapped up, you clearly didn't see the poll. Will you be doing what if series for My Hero? Yes, I will. What's your opinion on popular shonen anime like Jujutsu Kaisen or Demon Slayer? I do want to try watching Jujutsu Kaisen. Demon Slayer, I think it's a similar issue with One Piece. I'm not a fan of the animation style, really. It's just, there's something about it that doesn't appeal to me. So, yeah, I want to try Jujutsu Kaisen, but Demon Slayer, I'm probably not going to be getting into that much. Number 3, are there any series you would like to do what ifs for they haven't done yet? Not many. I've done most of them. What's your favorite thing about amusement parks? Ironically, fast food. I like the food there. It's like, it's overpriced. It's stupidly expensive. It's overpriced. It's not like quality, but there's something about eating fair food at a fair or an amusement park that just kind of is nice. I'm not a big rides guy. I like the games fine, but yeah. Are there any death battles you would like to see reanalyzed, redone, or remastered? Aizen versus Madara. Again, I just need to reiterate. I don't know what's up with Death Battle. Death Battle normally has great research done, usually. But for some reason, I feel like they've really dropped the ball on Bleach's research and cosmology. I really have. So I would, if nothing else, even if Madara still wins, I would at least like them to acknowledge like the Can't Fear Your Own world lore and the actual lore of Bleach to get proper scaling done. So number 6, do you like to go hiking or camping? I do not. Sorry. We did it a few times as a kid. When I was a kid, wasn't a big fan of it. Which what if do you think is the most fun or exciting to make? Like Naruto's Zanpakutos are a lot of fun. Crossovers a lot of fun. Something like that. Giving a character a power they didn't have is a lot of fun. What video games are your favorites growing up? Pokemon was a big one, but as I said earlier, Dark Cloud 1 and 2 for the PS2. Comfort food game. Like they literally just feel like a warm hug game to me. I can literally sit there for hours and just grind and just listen to the music. And it's just, I love Dark Cloud. I really do. Let's see here. And have you ever watched any of the Monty Pythons? Do you have any of your favorites? You were talking to a man who, in high school, could quote verbatim. I'm probably lost a couple quotes now. The entirety of Monty Python and the Holy Grail, which is my favorite. So yes, I am a Monty Python fan. We have, you want to know how good I can quote Monty Python? Hold on a sec. We are no longer the knights who say, nee. We are now the knights who say, icky, 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 my tongue's whooping. Good, that's how well I can quote Monty Python. Okay, number 10. What's your favorite food, best thing you've eaten? Couldn't tell you the best thing I've eaten. That's my memory isn't that good, but seafood. I'm a huge seafood nut. Sorry for the long list. It's okay. Don't worry about it. All right. And Logan Stone, 1 of 7. Which do you find more interesting? The shows that depict shows from the past depicting the future, or shows now depicting the past? The past depicting the future, because it's eerily scary how good they got some predictions. Who do you think is the greater mastermind and manipulator? Palpatine, Aizen, Yohan Lieberman, Light Yagami, Evil Morty, Shockwave, or Eric Cartman. I couldn't tell you about Shockwave. Cartman's just a stupid kid. He is surprisingly brilliant at points, but other times he's a moron. Evil Morty is good, but once he was revealed, it's like, whatever. He didn't care. Light Yagami is also a kid. He's still got immaturity issues. And Johan is only human. Long game, it's one thing, but we're talking about long game. So it comes down to Emperor Palpatine and it's supposed to get Aizen. And it's not about just solely long game. Aizen is much older than Palpatine. It's also about your backup plans. And Aizen had those in spades. Only Urahara was able to outsmart him because he was smarter than him. So Aizen is the best master manipulator mastermind to me. 3, have you ever considered a character survival challenge series? You brought that up, and I brought it up. I'm like, that might not be a bad idea to try to make one of the two, like the Quark series or the Digimon series when I put them on hiatus for a bit. So I'll consider it. Do you think Goku, if he were to land in Asgard, would be in Marvel? Oh god, my battery's low. All right, we're going to actually do something. We're going to do a quick tracking motion shot here and get this thing back on a charger. So we're moving. But anyway, I'll keep talking while I'm moving. If he landed in Asgard, would he be stronger or weaker? He would actually probably be weaker because young Goku would not be able to even beat low-level Asgardians. Adult Goku could definitely beat low-level Asgardians, certainly. But young Goku certainly couldn't do something like that. So, yeah. Now, that being said, and really, it's the level of potential Goku needs to get to or level of power needs to get to beat Asgardians would be like his Dragon Ball Super level. And it would honestly take him forever because accessing God Ki would be very hard. The only way to amp Goku to match them would be like giving him part of the Odin Force or something like that. All right, now that I'm on the computer, I can actually just, I don't have to rush through the rest of them. So let's see here. Would you rather cause the zombie apocalypse and survive the initial outbreak, or be the direct cause of an alien invasion? Alien invasion, because we don't know if the aliens are dangerous or not. Invasion implies, but we might be able to beat the invasion. We don't know what their technology is like. That's it. See, there's a lot of hypotheticals with the invasion that we can kind of toy with. With a zombie outbreak, people are going to die, guaranteed. I don't want to be responsible for that. So, yeah, I'll go with that. Which Stephen King books did you enjoy reading the most? I've actually never read any Stephen King book outright. I know about a lot of them. I know about, like, some of the changes from, like, say, the It book versus the movie. Kid Orgies, anyone? No, thank you. I know about things like The Dark Tower. I know about a lot of them, but I've never actually read a Stephen King book. They're also a bit long reads. All right. Which fictional world would you be in? But So basically, pick a fictional world you'd be in, but you're a civilian. Naruto, Bleach, around the same time Ichigo, but not as powerful enough to be on anyone's radar. So basically, back in the beginning, at the start of the series, in Naruto or in Baki. Believe it or not, Baki. Because in Naruto and Bleach, we will have world-ending threats on not a constant basis, but on enough of a basis where I don't want to be in there. I don't want to be a part of that. With Baki, it's actually the most realistic world. Granted, you have someone like Yujiro, who's still the ogre and doing some insane feats that you shouldn't be able to do as a human. But if say Baki and me got into a fight, Baki would kick my ass. But at least I feel like there's a out of the ballpark shot, I could get a shot in and crack him in the face or something. So yeah, I'd actually go Baki. Horrible drawer. What horror movie crossover would you want the most? Something to do with the Predator. I might go Predator versus Creeper. I think that'd be a cool fight because the Creeper in every one of his movies is kind of uncontested. I would like to see the Creeper actually meet a physical challenge. And the Predator, I think, would meet that criteria. And his weapons, let's be honest, are just better than the Creepers. The Creepers, though, his regeneration capability would be interesting. I've done a Creeper versus Predator matchup before. But yeah, I would do a Predator versus Creeper. Would you rather see a Ben 10 crossover with Marvel or DC? DC. Now, why DC? Because DC has individuals like the Teen Titans, or Young Justice or something like that, where Ben makes sense to be on the team. Marvel, besides like a Young Avengers roster, doesn't actually consistently have that. And he's not going to fit in the X-Men. They're not going to have a kid on the Avengers if they can help it, even if he can turn into these monsters. Even as a teenager, they're not really going to help do that if they can avoid it. So I'd actually go with DC, because he's got better chances to be on some better teams. Do you think Joey should have beaten Merrick and maybe Yugi or Kaiba to complete his arc? Should he have beaten Merrick? Absolutely. He was going to beat Merrick in that duel. It's proven he was going to do it. He just passed the hell out. So I've done a video series of what if he won. Now, beating Merrick, absolutely. Now, beating Yugi, we know for a fact he must have beaten Yugi in their duel after the fact, after the tournament, because he got his red eyes back. I don't know, though, if him beating Yugi there made a lot of sense in Battle, because Yugi also was having his own arc about the Egyptian god, about beating Merrick, all that, so forth and so on. So, should he have beaten Yugi? Yes. If I were to write it, would I have made him... You know what I honestly would have done? I would have ended it in a draw. And then later on, they do one more duel where Yugi actually loses. I think that would have been the perfect ending actually for Joey, because Yugi is still the king of games. Joey should not theoretically be able to beat Yugi most of the time, especially with his deck. But, I mean, granted, his Waking the Dragons deck and the Grand Prix deck are actually, there still relies a lot on luck, but a lot better versions of that deck. But, yeah, actually, honestly, I would have had to end in the draw. I don't know how you would have ended it in a draw, but I would have had to end in a draw. So that's how I would have done it. Let's see here. What is your opinion on the concept of versus fight? Basically, as you put, the Stephen King versus the Lovecraft verse. And have I read any good books lately? Not lately, no. But verse versus verse. This is where, and I'll go back to I was talking with someone, and it's been a respectful conversation. This is the conversation I actually like to have with viewers who aren't being idiots, where we're actually discussing our viewpoints on. Because we were talking about, in my Obito versus Yamamoto video, about Kamui, and he said, where was I getting the idea? He was talking about where I got the idea that Obito needed to touch someone to use the Kamui. I'm like, from the manga and the anime, there are literal fights where he actually has to touch someone to pull them into his dimension. And then apparently there's I couldn't, and they said it was like 10 meters for his range. I'm like, I couldn't find that. I'm not saying you're wrong, I just couldn't find it. But they were talking about how Kaguya is universal, or at least described as universal, because she actually created her own dimension. And I'm like, I didn't believe it. Then I looked up the quotes, like, oh shit, you're right. Okay, I admit when I'm wrong. But you need to be careful when scaling universes, because universal in one universe does not mean universal in another universe. Case in point, let's go with actually the Stephen King versus Lovecraft universe right now. The highest tier universe, the highest tier beings in said universes are like Pennywise, Maturin, the Scarlet King, and I think a couple other individuals ranked that high. They're not multiversal. Hell, they can't even consume a universe. Like Pennywise called himself a destroyer of worlds, but really the problem simply comes down to, what level of power do you have to actually destroy the universe? What move do you have? Power output, all of that. Whereas in the Lovecraft universe, we literally have individuals that, because they're asleep, we get to exist. The minute they wake up, we'll cease to exist. You're going to be on such existential concepts of universe, reality, all that in the Lovecraft universe, that it's not really a fair comparison when dealing into like something like the King universe, which has a cosmology and is definitely strong. Something like the Kaguya question, and I think that person brought this up again about how she could be Yoa. The problem is that they were trying to use like illusions to counter the Almighty. Illusions don't counter the Almighty. They can trick the Almighty, but the problem with the Almighty simply is you get to alter the future. So the immediate problem with that is, like the Ashbone in theory could disintegrate his body, but he can literally negate any move he sees in the future before it ever hits him. So the Ashbone never works to begin with. Like truth-seeking orbs, if they're used, never get to work to begin with. because he's just negged all these things in the future before they ever happened. Like that's the problem with scaling. And like going with, like, let's use the Bleach universe again, because I was talking about the scaling earlier for the Bleach universe. The Bleach universe is surprisingly massive in terms of its scaling. The Naruto universe is weird with its scaling. Like Kaiju created dimensions, yes, but we don't know how big those dimensions actually go for. Are they only planet sized? Do they go out to a solar system? Are they their own actual universes? And then how big is that compared to the Naruto main universe? Like, there's so many unanswered questions with a concept like scaling. Whereas with the Bleach universe, there's actually enough lore that we know the rough size of it, because we know that there was one primordial world and therefore universe prior to the splitting of the three main worlds. And for some reason, hell existed. That was a separate plane of existence in its own right. So you have Wako Mundo, Soul Society, and the living world. But the living world, as far as we know, still has the same cosmology as our normal world, meaning it still has its sun, solar system, so its planets, its universe, its galaxy, so it's its entire base universe. If Wako Mundo, Soul Society, and the living world are all roughly equal sizes because a balance needs to be kept, that means that's 3 whole universes there. And the Soul King, by just passively existing in his weakest form, holds that all together. So we can then basically scale Yuha, who absorbed that Soul King and all that power, adding on his own power onto it, to at least a universal 3 times plus individual. And that's not even including extra Soul King abilities, how strong he might have been prior to that. So that's where scaling really becomes tricky. You have to know the lore of your world fairly well in order to properly scale it. And there are people who can scale it well, and there are people who can scale it poorly. I want to believe I can scale things well, but even I'll admit I'm not perfect. There are like lore information, like, for example, I didn't actually know the statement existed that was really a dimension she created, Kaguya. So I have to now adjust my viewpoints when it comes to Kaguya as a character. But I also now have to adjust my viewpoints on Naruto and Sasuke to a certain degree, because they're certainly not universal beings. Because they didn't defeat her outright with power, they had to seal her away. That's what happened. And then how the other Usutsuki play into the fact that if they're really universal, they should have no problem taking care of like anyone. But that's not what's happening. So we have to be careful with statements when it comes to scaling, because I have a feeling some of us, and I'm not talking to you, Josh. I know Josh is the name of the person I was talking with. Josh is a cool guy. You're a cool guy, Josh. I'm not calling you out. I'm not even talking. I'm referencing what we were talking about, but I'm not directing this towards you. So don't worry. We have to be worried about statements, because the statements might be taken out of context. That's, I think, one of the biggest problems with scaling. When it comes to scaling and verse fights, comments can really be taken out of context. And maybe I took a statement from Bleach when I was just talking about the cosmology there out of context. Either way, that's the biggest issue. Context is everything. It's everything. All right, Bobby Reynolds. We all know that in Transformers 2, only a Prime can defeat the Fallen. Could he still get defeated by any other characters like the Fallen? Like the Fallen wasn't looking or looking, and Darth Vader came and slicked his head off with a lightsaber? Yes. Okay, so yes, absolutely, because it's context again. In their world, a Prime, it's not even that a Prime is like the only ones. Like, your name's Steve? But I have the Matrix of Leadership. But are you a Prime? Nope, doesn't work. No, the Primes, I believe, carry the Matrix of Leadership. That's why they're kind of able to do that. But it's a power-to-power thing. Someone like Vader, who can just telekinetically throw an entire starship around, should actually have no problem taking care of the Fallen and just crushing him. It's not like, say, a Superman Kryptonite thing, where Kryptonite's his only real natural weakness. It's more that just within their culture, these individuals were the only ones really capable of taking these guys on. That's what that comes down to. All right, then, Ricardo Player 1. What is your MBTI and Enneagram type? That's a personality type quiz. I considered taking it, but I didn't want to just take the time. I didn't really want to just waste the time with doing it, so I don't really have an answer to that. It's been a while since I took one of those. Sir Hammerlock. Hey, brother. I got some questions for you. Well, lay them on me, man. Please put Has-Been Hotel and Hell of a Boss on your watch list. I feel like you'll love them, and I'd love to see crossovers involving them. Well, That's not a question, but I know what you mean. Yeah, I'll have to suggest that to my girlfriend. Maybe we could do that at some point. I'll have to see where it's streaming. Who has a sadder childhood, Naruto or Sasuke? So, sadder or more tragic? Sasuke's is arguably more tragic because he lost pretty much all his family. But Naruto started out with no one and was neglected on purpose. So I would lean towards Naruto. By the way, I don't want to hear the person who comments is like, we shouldn't be comparing sad backstories or anything like that. Everyone's like, if these were real people, I would agree with you. But they're fictional. They have built backstories, and because they're not real, it's okay to compare. And it's all subjective too. So it was literally one of those things where I think I made a comment at one point about sad backstories. And like the person was like, you shouldn't be talking about people's back. Like, they're fictional people. It's fine. It's like, it's not fine. Yes, it is. It absolutely is. Would I do it with real people in the real world? Fuck no, because that's mean. Not even mean. It's just, it's not classy. It's bad class. But no, they're fictional. It's fine. Canon-wise, what would have taken for Naruto to go rogue? Most likely, everyone losing faith in him, including Iruka. If Iruka and the third lost faith in him, like said, you can't be Hokage, I think that probably would have been the straw that broke the camel's back. I'm going to skip 4 because that one's going to be the one I take longest with. Do you wear a jacket regularly? It's constant for me. Not during the hot weather months, but I'm a cold weather guy, and I actually like the cold weather more. So during the cold weather, I have a duster that I like to wear, that I wear occasionally, and actually I have it right here. Hold on. And a cool, you've probably seen a little bit of it in some videos, but a Leatherman jacket that my buddy Mark got me for Christmas. But it's I believe it's Rogue Squadron, not a school. So it's a pretty cool jacket. I love it. And it's warm too. Like, it's a really good jacket for winter. So let's see. Avengers vs. Akatsuki. Quick conclusion. I have a who would win video on that, so you can actually go and watch that. But my quick conclusion on that would be the Avengers would ultimately win, because once you get to, it also depends if you're doing the comic or the movie. If you're doing the movie, the Avengers would still win, as Thor and Iron Man alone have enough firepower to kind of just take them out. Pain would be the most difficult one, same with Obito. But then if you're going with, say, comic Avengers, which have Doctor Strange on the team, well then, yeah, it's pretty much all she wrote there. What is a movie you thought would do well at the box office but ended up flopping, and vice versa? If. I thought If would do, and Fall Guy would both do very well at the box office, and they both ended up flopping. I am surprised about that. Now, a movie that did well that I thought would bomb or like just not do well. Ooh, that one's a good question. That's a tougher question. That actually is a movie that I thought wouldn't do well, but then ended up doing well. I would have loved to have said the Twilight films, but I knew they would do well. Oh man, I don't have a good answer for that one. So yeah, sorry, but yeah, I don't have a good answer on that one. You temporarily go back in time and change the cast for a movie. Which one? Borderlands. It's the most recent one that came to mind, but yeah, one of the things a lot of people say is that film was very miscast, and I happen to agree. It did not gel. I didn't like a lot of the characters, and it's from actors who I generally all really like or love, and I really didn't like any of them that much, except for Jack Black. I thought he was fine as Claptrap. Cate Blanchett is like doing her damnedest, and she's probably the best one of the group. Other than that, though, I didn't hate Kevin Hart, but I didn't love him. I didn't really like Jamie Lee Curtis. I love Jamie Lee Curtis, but I didn't like her. And I did not like Ariana Greenblatt. Did not like her character at all. So, yeah. And final question, do you like Slim Jims? I love them. Not really. I don't hate them, but whatever. Thank you for answering all the questions and for being a positive light. I've been watching you ever since I was 12. Well, good on you, man. I don't know how long that's been, but good on you. Now, your actual final question, because it's the one I'm going to focus the longest on, is what is your advice for high school? I'm a sophomore, and it's a struggle. Okay, 12, that would make you, 16 now? Okay, so you've been watching for 4 years. Okay, so my high school experience is probably not the same as yours, but I also don't know what you're going through in terms of a struggle. Like if you're dealing with, first off, if you're dealing with any sort of real depression, talk to someone, go to a therapist, go talk to your parents, loved ones, whatever. Okay. So right out the gate, I'm not the right person to talk to that. I can say I have dealt with depression before. Not on the, I have dealt with thoughts that I haven't liked, but I'm also, my brain kind of goes lizard style logic. Like I'm someone who, I'm not going to say I've never been actually suicidal, but I've thought about what happened if I were gone. But I'm also one of those people who are like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to be that selfish. I'm not dealing with I'm not dealing with anywhere near the kind of pain where I would even consider it. But I have, because my mind goes to so many places and so many times, and when it's gone to dark places, I've sometimes thought, what if I were gone? So I have thought about that before. And if you have had those thoughts, my first and foremost suggestion should be go talk to someone. Go get professional help. Go talk to your parents about this. Go talk to your girlfriend, sister, brother, whatever. Talk to them, because I can't help you with that. I can only just give you my advice. Then my advice for that is just remember that the amount of pain you think you're going through, right? The only thing I could say is the amount of pain you're going through right now, thinking everyone would be better off without me. Always remember this line. That's bullshit. You're going to hurt people far worse by committing an act like that than you're ever going to be by being there. Now, if you're being selfish or being destructive or whatever, you're still going to be hurting them more, because you're taking yourself out of the equation, despite the fact that these people love you. Even if you've been difficult, these people love you. So that's my first thing, but that's more about like suicide and depression, which again, I'm not qualified to talk about. What I am qualified to talk about though is the high school experience. So there's 3 things to talk about. 1, the day-to-day, 2, dating, and 3, bullies. Bullies are the one I'm probably going to spend the longest on. But the day-to-day, honestly, look, just try to find your balance, man. Your classes can be difficult sometimes. Trying to find the positive in your classes. What are you enjoying about your day, about your classes? And try to focus on those things that you enjoy. Now, if classes are a struggle and a bit hard, well, I'd say buckle down, but I was an underachiever student, and I still got decent grades. So if I really applied myself, I probably would have, I wouldn't have been straight A, but mostly A's and B's. I had a mix of A's, B's, and C's, but I had no D's. No D. Well, that's not true. Computer programming, I sucked at, but that's beside the point. So I would definitely say, just try to look at the positives with your lineup. Try to balance out your homework, your social life if you can. Now, if we're talking about dating, in high school, I didn't date really at all. I didn't really start dating until actually college. And I have a girlfriend now, so, all things work out in the end, hopefully. But in terms of dating, look, I'm going to say the thing that you don't want to know, especially if you've got a really big crush on someone and you got really big feelings, or if you have a girlfriend right now. Most likely, any dating you do in high school will not last. It will not be your final relationship. Don't go into that relationship with that mentality. Like, I'm just going to date around, right? Be respectful to your partner. Be respectful. Be receptive to what they're talking about. It sounds like you're about 16. If sex is coming up, and if you feel you're not ready, don't feel pressured into it. If they're not ready, do not pressure them into it. If you both are ready, be responsible. So there's that. But also know that right now it's going to be the scientific bullshit thing to say, you're in a flux right now. Your hormones are still going. You're still growing mentally and physically. You're still maturing. You're still learning life lessons. So don't be afraid to, in hindsight, would I have asked some people out in high school? Yeah, I would have. But it's hindsight, 2010. What are you going to do? Don't be afraid to take your shot, because what's the worst that's going to happen? What's the worst that's going to happen? They say no. That's the worst that's going to happen. Now, technically speaking, if you like someone who turns out to be, who's actually showing that they're a very not good person, like they're very self-absorbed, all that, I would also say reevaluate why you're attracted to them. Is it just physical, or is there something else there? Now, with dealing with bullies, and I'm not saying you're being bullied, first off, do not bully. I will be very disappointed if you are bullying Sir Hammerlock. But if you are dealing with bullies. This is, I can only tell you what happened with me, because I didn't really get bullied. I had some assholes. I did have some assholes. There were assholes who did try to mess with me once in a while. But and it's not an easy thing to learn. You just got to find that point in your life where you don't give a fuck anymore. Where you do not care what that asshole thinks, what that asshole thinks, what that asshole thinks, and just ignore them. Now, if these guys still get in your face, that, one of the things now, I'm kind of stuttering here, but it's very important. If they're getting in your face about things, I do not advocate physical violence except as a last resort. It has to be a last resort. Nothing. Try everything before you throw a punch. But, and first of all, try to actually just one-up them from intelligence-wise. If some guy, let's just say a guy, is bullying you, maybe he's got an inch on you or whatever, maybe he's a little bigger than you, but you think you could take him. Regardless, if he's trying to throw insults or whatever, throw insults back. If he wants to act like a turd, treat him like that. It's like, for example, if someone's like throwing shade, talking about your parents or someone close to you that's like injured or hurt or sick, and you hate that, honestly, go the analytical route. Break them down in front of people. Humiliate them. But verbally. Like, I was like, I'm sorry, but this is just an example. I'm sorry, but why? No, why? And just get them. There's like, why this? Why now? Why me? Why other people? What do you get out of this? Does it make you feel good? Because even if it makes you feel good, that's sad as fuck, man. We're all just trying to get through our day, get through our lives. I don't care if mommy and daddy are rich. I don't care if they're beating you. Where do you get off talking to people like this? This is pathetic. Because you're just going to be one of those guys who peaks at the end of the freaking school year, at the end of your school career. I played football. I got this many touchdowns. Oh, I was the quarterback. And then you're going to be serving fries at Wendy's in the next 10 years. So, you know what? Say whatever you want. All you're doing is making yourself look like a joke. So stuff like that can work. But there will probably be a point in time where someone might lay their hands on you. Now, I can't teach you how to fight. I hope maybe you have at least some self-defense on you. Maybe maybe just talking to someone knows how to defend himself, taking a class, something like that, learning how to fight. It's great. I only took some basic karate. I had to learn how to fight on my own. But for example, the only few things I can kind of teach you to do is if they're throwing a haymaker, immediate block there. Now, it's not like going to be anime or a movie where you just you stop right there. No, you have to counter it with your own force. But if you're going to do that and you block like that, you need to follow up immediately. You need to, and if you don't go for the face, go for the ribs. The ribs are a vital spot. You cannot build up muscle you cannot build protection on your ribs. So you can toughen up your bones, you can toughen up your ribs by taking hits, but you give a guy a good shot to the ribs, they're going to drop. Or they're at least going to be clutching their side. And at that point, then you can just kind of go in and, hit. But don't fight dirty either, unless you have to. Like, I am not someone who would go for the groin shot, but if you have to, and, they're overwhelming you, do what you got to do. Go for a groin shot. But honestly, it's just a matter of how you handle yourself. I learned to fight on the fly, and I've practiced over the years, so I do know how to defend myself, absolutely, and fight. But I don't have to, which is the important thing. Hopefully, you don't have to. But yeah, if they're getting physical with you, you are in your right to defend yourself. And if you get called to the principal office for that crap, so you tell them how to clockwork Mr. Highlander, we'd like to speak with you. Why am I in Michigan? I'm not saying you're in Michigan, but why am I in Michigan? But no, it's like, honestly, look, apologize for having to throw hands, but he did put hands on me first. Tell him what you've been dealing with. Make sure your parents are there or whatever if you can. But also say and if they try to say there's a no violence policy, just throw back. Is there a no bullying policy too? Because you guys aren't doing shit. He put his hands on me. I did everything I could, but he put his hands on me. He tried to get physical with me, so I protected myself. That's what I did. And if you're going to honestly call my parents and try to get me expelled for that crap, we're gonna sue your ass. I mean, don't say that, but talk to your parents about that. Now, there's one other thing, though. This is something I didn't do in high school, and I kind of wish I did. And I'm not saying I would be a Robin Hood or be a protector of the school, but if you saw someone being bullied, go up and stand up to them. Tell them, no, back the fuck off. And then do like the things I said before, like bring them out, break them down emotionally, all that. If you can avoid breaking them down, don't avoid breaking them down. But you get what I'm saying. Go basically break them down. Like say, you are not the boss here. You're not the king of school. You're just another person. And if you want to get physical, we can get physical. Honestly, one other thing you can do, this is my last thing about bullying, freak them the hell out. Like, they're starting to get in your face, and there's a, well, you want to go? So, yeah, I want to just start, like, yeah, I want to go, and just start, like, I have to deal with this shit every goddamn day. You want to go? And just start slapping your face a little bit. Say, you want to go? Fuck it, let's go right now. Like, just go off on their ass, and then just freak their ass out. They're not going to want to mess with you after that, because they're going to think you're unhinged as fuck. So, bullying, dating, your day-to-day life, depression, and again, talk to someone else about that more in depth than me. Those are my thoughts, Sir Hammerlock. And again, I don't know exactly what you're going through, so I can't speak directly to that. Maybe if you put some comments in here about some of the stuff you're going through, maybe I can answer more in depth in the comments when we upload this. All right then. Man, my voice is starting to go. Kenson Gomez. I've been going for like 2 hours, I think. Yeah, 2 hours on the. I almost played that by mistake. So Kenson basically asked, what if Minato married Tsunade? And someone did respond to that with saying, did you mean Jiraiya? Because there's no reasonable way Minato Namikaze would marry Tsunade. And I'm sorry, this is one of those times I have to agree that I'm not doing that what if. There's no logical avenue for that what if. Now, first off, you're not asking for a complete fan fiction, which again, I said I don't do. And some people still get on my case where I'm like, dude, this is just how I do it. Deal with it or don't watch. And I've still gone fanficking on what if. The Naruto going rogue is the most fanficky I've ever gone. But there's Tsunade is 50 years old by the time we meet her in the series. Naruto's 13. So you minus that. She was 37 when he was born. Minato, I believe, is only like 20 something when he dies. So she's got at least 15 years on him. She's got like around 15 years on him. So there's no logical avenue those two are getting together. There's just not. And then you're taking out Kushina from the picture, which means someone else. Is there a way it could work? Hypothetically, yes. It's not a route I'd like to go down, though. Because I'd basically have to age her down, and that basically ruins the entire Sonic thing. Or at least being the third's pupils in that sense. So, yeah. Okay, we're in the home stretch now, I think. I'm going to go from the bottom up here. Kyle Galliant. Not to be rude here, but when are we ever going to get the what if Naruto was a girl? Whenever it comes up. I know you're not trying to move, you just want to see that video, but whenever it comes up. I've said it before. I got my list right here. 1 second. The top's come off of it, but yeah, I got my book. Right now, it's out of a book this thick. That's how many pages of suggestions I got. So, again, except for like the one-shots where I will just kind of randomly go through and, did I just drop my, I dropped something. Oh, there it is. Except for, yeah. Except for like the random one-shots where I will just look around for just random one-shots and then I know will be one-shots. It goes through each individual person. Now, when I eventually get to someone who gave me that suggestion, I will get to it. But it's going to be when it comes. Ricardo Player 1, what is my Zanpakuto? I have a video on that. I did a video for my Zanpakuto. So there you go. Worst anime protagonist to live as? Probably Eren from Attack on Titan, due to the fact that the world of Attack on Titan is terrible. So, yeah, I'll go with that. I mean, among others. There are also others who, like, just constantly die a lot of times, so that would be bad. Ricardo Player 1, what if Aang and Azula fell in love? It would definitely change things a lot, actually. So it's one of the few times a pairing what if actually could work as a video. So there's that. Alice just says, question. He didn't give a question, so question. Ricardo Player One also says, have you seen Ultra Vegito on YouTube? I don't know if that's a YouTuber or an actual video list, but no, I have not. I mean, yes, I've seen contests for Ultra Vegito, but yeah. All right, last three here. Jaden the Critic, my animation loving brother. Why have you deleted a lot of your old box office videos and some of your reviews? I personally like looking back at some of those videos, so obviously I can't force you. But if possible, please try not to delete any more of those. All right, so I'm going to give you a 50-50 answer on that. When it comes to the old reviews, I really deleted the reviews that no one watched. Like the reviews that only got 15 viewers or something like that, I deleted those. So because A, they're taking room up on the channel. It keys up some more room for more videos along the way. But also, like, it's clear, even if you're going back to watch them, very few people are watching them. But with the box office reports, I'm sorry to say, those will get annually deleted. What do I mean by that? Well, they're the only videos I do that are truly time sensitive. They're only good within the first few days after I post them, because they're dealing with a specific date in time. So after, say, a week at most, they're the new one. Basically, after 6 days, another one comes out, and now they're no longer relevant in the conversation. Now we're dealing with the next one, and then the next one. So what I basically decided to do was, once we get to the beginning of the year, and I've had like a month, I will have the first 4 videos of the month out, and I'm going to just delete the other ones, just so that like there's a constant rotation going. And I'm sorry if that kind of upsets anyone, but I just felt that made sense because no one else is going to be watching those videos long term down the road. So that's my thoughts. That's why I did it. Pack Green. What if Bardock and Gine survived and escaped to Earth and took Radz with them? How would Bardock and Radz turn a new leaf? Easy. Bardock's a much kinder Saiyan than Radz was. It's confirmed he was a kind-hearted Saiyan, so he would keep his son in check. See here. Jotaro Kujo, the last one of 7, and my voice is really going. What is your most wanted? And I actually can basically kind of respond to this how I responded to it previously. What is your most wanted death battle? And my answer now initially, and it's still the same, any death battle that brings Kenpachi Zaraki in there. Because Kenpachi Zaraki is a character that is made for death battle, and we just need the right opponent. Because that fight, you do it CGI or live, straight animated, whatever, is going to be boss, and I want it. And he's one of my favorite Bleach characters. Which characters are the better symbol of hope? Okay, now I can go a bit more in depth into this now. Better symbol of hope. Wonder Woman, Captain America, Superman, Iron Man, and King from One Piece. It's not King from One Piece. It's not Iron Man, definitely not. It comes down to Wonder Woman, Cap, and Superman. I would actually even say Wonder Woman is probably the bronze medal winner. She's definitely an inspiration, but she's not a universal sign for hope, per se. In fact, when the War of Light came, she was much more of a candidate for the Lantern Corps of love than hope. So that comes down to Captain America and Superman. And ultimately comes down to Captain America is Captain America. Granted, he is a worldwide symbol to a certain degree, but he really represents America, even when he kind of denounced some of the government. Superman, though, is a global figure. So Superman is the better symbol of hope. What is your favorite sci-fi show of all time? Honestly, I'd say it, like I said, at this point, I'd say Doctor Who. Doctor Who's, I never was very interested before I started watching Doctor Who in Doctor Who. And now that I am, I'm like, okay, I love Doctor Who. I do. I love Doctor Who now. So there you go. New things. Who do you think is better trained fighter, regardless of their power level? So basically, if we were to even these guys out, who's the better trained fighter? Wonder Woman, Goku, Might Guy, Kenpachi, Zaraki, or All Might. Well, I'm going to take All Might and, sadly, Kenpachi off the list. Kenpachi's a good fighter, and even though it's shown or said in the novels he does know he's very versatile in hand-to-hand with judo, but it's more self-taught than anything. All Might is more of a brawler than an actual fighter. So that leaves us Wonder Woman, Goku, and Might Guy. Now, my initial answer was edging it out Goku. And the reason for that is very much this. If you're basically leveling all these guys out at, like, say, peak human condition, Might Guy's abilities to fight really come down to his ability to enhance himself with chakra. Goku's Wonder Woman and Goku actually all just have physical and physically speaking, they're naturally stronger than a human. Goku is also the only one who's trained as a martial artist. Yes, Guy knows martial arts, and he works in a specific style, but he's not a true martial artist, at least in the same sense that Goku would. Goku went to tournaments. He went one-on-one. As I heard a great describer between him and Vegeta, Goku is a duelist, whereas Vegeta is a soldier. Both know how to fight, but one has trained to just improve. Basically, Goku fits perfectly in like a Baki universe, whereas Mike Guy does not. Wonder Woman is an Amazon in more of a soldier style. She's not necessarily a one-on-one fight and to improve yourself. It all comes down also to mentality. Goku is constantly striving to improve himself. So I edge out Goku, but barely, because I think Wonder Woman and Guy could give him a good run for his money if we're just taking out the bare bones, or taking out all their excess power. What character you're most interested in seeing in Death Battle? Again, Kenpachi, I said that. What is your favorite dessert? Honestly, any pastry falls under that, but cinnamon rolls are a big one. I love cinnamon rolls. And the final question for this Q&A coming in at, dear God Almighty, 2 hours and 10 minutes. What is my favorite era of films? The 80s through the 90s. I feel like that is just because both, they're tonally, they feel similar, but the 90s feels like a more evolved version of the 80s. Because film technology just improved from there on and all that. So, and then the best creature features I've seen come from the 80s and 90s and even the early 2000s. That's the best time for like creature feature monster movies. So, and horror, like, it had its 80s slasher boom there. There's some great action films from the 80s and 90s. But that being said, the best era for comic book films was 2000 to now, honestly. Because we're still having fantastic comic book films come out. So, yeah, be right with you, puppy. So, yeah, that's my thoughts. Oh, God, my voice is gone. Or at least it's sore, anyway. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. As always, if you want us to review something, put in the comments below. Let us know the review of it. And if you have any response to anything I said, just put it down here in the comments as well. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.